Welcome, brave souls, to a journey through the shadowed depths of Oregon's most haunted forests. From ancient woods where spirits linger to eerie trails where the past refuses to rest. These forests are not just home to towering trees and whispering winds. They harbor tales of the supernatural that will chill your very bones. Tillamook State Forest, stretching across more than 364,000 acres in Oregon's Coast Range, is a breathtaking tapestry of towering Douglas firs, dense undergrowth, and moss-laden trails. To the casual observer, it presents a serene wilderness, a sanctuary for hikers, birdwatchers, and nature enthusiasts. Sunlight filters gently through the canopy, illuminating fern-covered slopes and the occasional sparkling stream. The forest seems alive with the gentle rhythm of nature. Birdsong, the rustling of leaves, and the soft hum of distant streams. Yet, for those who venture deeper, there exists a layer of unease, a whisper of history that refuses to remain silent. In the early 20th century, Tillamook State Forest was not the verdant haven it appears today. A series of devastating forest fires, beginning in the 1930s and culminating in the massive Tillamook burn, ravaged the region over several decades. These fires consumed vast swaths of timber, reduced communities to ashes, and claimed lives in ways that left deep scars on the landscape and the collective memory of the area. The charred remnants of those fires eventually gave way to new growth, yet locals often speak of the forest as though it still remembers the pain it once endured. Hikers and visitors have long recounted strange and unsettling experiences while exploring the forest. Some describe the sudden sensation of being followed, only to turn and find no one behind them. Others hear the faint sound of footsteps on the forest floor, uneven and deliberate, yet echoing through empty paths. Whispered voices ride on the wind, too indistinct to form words, yet unmistakably human in origin. The forest seems to breathe these sounds into existence, as though replaying memories of the past for those sensitive enough to notice. One such account comes from a hiker named Mark, who spent several days trekking through the more remote sections of the forest in the early fall. On the third night, while camping near a creek surrounded by towering firs, he awoke to the soft murmur of voices just beyond the light of his fire. He described them as a blend of sorrow and urgency, a chorus of people caught between the world of the living and the dead. He tried to locate the source, but no path, no clearing, and no figure appeared. By dawn, the voices had faded, leaving only the crackling of the fire and the whisper of the wind through the trees. Others have reported encountering shadowy figures among the trees, fleeting glimpses that vanish when approached. Some hikers describe a sudden drop in temperature in isolated patches of the forest, chills that run deep and linger unnervingly long. Dogs often react to these anomalies, barking or growling at unseen presences, refusing to move forward along certain trails. Locals suggest that these reactions are more than mere instincts, hinting at the presence of lingering spirits, a remnant of those who perished in the fires decades ago. The forest itself seems to resist full understanding. Trails that appear straightforward can twist unexpectedly, leading hikers back to points they swore they had already passed. Moss-covered paths can hide deep gullies, and fog frequently rises without warning, blanketing the forest in a gray shroud that disorients even the most experienced explorer. It is in these moments of isolation that the sense of being watched intensifies, and the whispers of the past grow louder. Paranormal investigators have occasionally visited Tillamook State Forest, drawn by its reputation and the many first-hand accounts of ghostly phenomena. Equipment designed to detect temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic fields, and audio anomalies often records inexplicable data, though interpretations vary. Some suggest the forest itself retains an energetic memory of the fires and the human suffering they caused, manifesting in ways perceptible to those attuned to its subtle signals. Others warn that such claims are anecdotal, influenced by the power of suggestion and the forest's eerie atmosphere. Yet, the consistency of reports, spanning decades, makes dismissals difficult to accept outright. Despite the unsettling stories, Tillamook State Forest continues to attract visitors, seeking both adventure and solace. Its towering trees, winding streams, and diverse wildlife offer an immersive escape from the modern world. For many, the forest's haunted reputation adds a layer of intrigue rather than fear, a reminder that nature is not only a living ecosystem, but also a repository of memory, history, and perhaps lingering souls. Experienced hikers learn to respect the forest's moods, understanding that a moment of silence or a sudden chill may be more than environmental coincidence. Among the most commonly reported locations of activity are the older logging roads and areas where charred stumps still remain, a stark contrast to the thriving vegetation around them. Visitors speak of feeling a heavy presence, as if the forest itself watches over these remnants of tragedy. Some leave small offering stones arranged carefully, or scraps of cloth tied to branches as gestures of respect or protection, believing these acts can appease the restless spirits. In a way, Tillamook State Forest embodies a duality. It is at once beautiful and dangerous, serene yet charged with unseen energy. Every footfall on its trails carries echoes of the past. Every rustle in the undergrowth, a potential message from those long gone. The forest does not discriminate between the casual visitor and the intrepid hiker. Anyone who ventures within its bounds is susceptible to its stories, both heard and felt. Even as the forest continues to recover from the burns of a century ago, its haunted essence persists. For those willing to listen, the wind carries fragments of voices and the memory of human loss. The shadows among the Douglas firs hint at the presence of figures who never fully left, wandering the forest in search of peace. Tillamook State Forest, in all its vastness and beauty, serves as a living reminder that nature holds on to its history, that the echoes of tragedy can linger for generations, and that sometimes the quietest corners of the world are those where the past whispers most clearly. Visiting Tillamook State Forest is an invitation to explore both the physical landscape and the intangible stories it preserves. Whether it is the thrill of solitude, the majesty of towering trees, or the eerie sensation of unseen eyes watching, the forest offers an experience unlike any other. For those who walk its trails with respect and awareness, the forest rewards them with wonder, reflection, and perhaps a glimpse of something beyond the ordinary. Reminder that even in the heart of nature, the past is never truly gone. Along the central Oregon coast, just south of the small town of Nescoin, a mysterious spectacle emerges with the shifting tides. The Nescoin Ghost Forest. At first glance, it appears as a collection of jagged tree stumps jutting from the sand. Relics of a forest long buried beneath centuries of sediment and soil. These stumps, often draped with seaweed and slick with the brine of the Pacific, are remnants of a world that existed over 2,000 years ago. While geologists attribute the forest's exposure to sudden erosion caused by storms and shifting sands, locals and visitors speak of something far more enigmatic, since that the forest is not entirely gone, that it continues to exist in ways that are both haunting and tangible. Walking among the stumps at low tide, one can't help but feel the presence of the forest that once stood there. The weathered wood, bleached by years of sun and salt, forms natural patterns and shapes that stir the imagination. Some of the stumps are massive, remnants of towering Sitka, spruces, and redwoods that must have dominated the landscape when the forest thrived. Others are fractured and worn, as though the passage of time has tried and failed to erase them entirely. Yet it is not only the size or age of the stumps that creates a sense of unease. It is the strange energy that seems to linger in the area, a vibration in the air that is difficult to describe but impossible to ignore. Stories of ghostly activity in Nescoin are numerous. One frequent report comes from evening visitors who claim to hear faint, unintelligible voices mingling with the roar of the ocean. The sounds are often described as whispery and fleeting, carried in and out with the wind. Some say the voices resemble those of children laughing or calling out, though no one can be seen. Others report fleeting shadows moving among the stumps, human-shaped silhouettes that vanish when approached. Photographs sometimes capture strange orbs of light hovering near the timber remnants, though skeptics dismiss them as camera artifacts. To those who believe, however, these phenomena are echoes of the forest's original inhabitants. reaching out from a time long past. Local legend deepens the forest's mysterious reputation. Indigenous tribes in the region tell stories of a great forest swallowed by the sands, a place where spirits linger to remind the living of the impermanence of life. The forest, they say, was once home to animals and humans alike, and when nature reclaimed the land, the spirits of those who perished remained trapped between the worlds. Residents of Neskowin speak of seeing figures walking silently among the stumps at dusk, draped in a mist that seems to rise from the sands themselves. Some visitors insist that when the wind carries a particular sound, like the snapping of a twig or a distant sight, is the forest speaking, recounting tales of its ancient past to those willing to listen. One hiker, Jessica, recounted her experience walking through the stumps during a low tide in late autumn. The air was heavy with salt and fog, and the Pacific's waves crashed relentlessly against the shore. As she moved deeper into the ghostly grove, she felt an inexplicable chill and noticed a figure standing several stumps away. It appeared human, yet its outline shimmered and wavered in a way that made it impossible to focus on. When she stepped closer, the figure vanished, leaving only the faint echo of footsteps in the sand. Jessica described a feeling of being watched for hours afterward, even after leaving the beach and returning to her car. Others have experienced similar phenomena in less dramatic ways. Some claim that their compasses or electronic devices malfunction when they venture near the stumps, as if the forest itself interferes with modern technology. Dogs sometimes grow uneasy, barking or refusing to step onto certain areas of the beach. Campers report sudden gusts of wind that circle them in patterns, carrying with it a sound reminiscent of rustling leaves long gone. While none of these occurrences can be scientifically verified, their frequency adds to the sense that the Neskowin Ghost Forest is more than just a geological curiosity. The forest's exposure is cyclical, dependent on tides and storms, which adds to its mystique. Sometimes, the stumps remain buried under sand for years, only to emerge after a particularly fierce winter storm or shifting currents. Each revelation feels like a message from the past, a reminder that nature's history is never truly erased. Archaeologists and paleobotanists have studied the site, uncovering pollen samples, seeds, and remnants of ancient soil layers that provide a glimpse into a world that existed long before modern civilization. Yet the scientific findings do little to quell the supernatural theories. In fact, they seem to amplify them, confirming that something ancient and powerful lies beneath the sand. Visitors are often struck by the contrast between the peaceful, windswept beach and the unsettling aura of the ghost forest. Walking among the stumps, one feels a connection to the past that is tangible yet ineffable. A sense that time itself has layered multiple realities in this place. The forest, both visible and hidden, serves as a reminder of nature's impermanence and resilience, as well as the enduring mystery of human perception. Some leave small tokens, a stone balanced atop a stump, a seashell placed carefully on the sand, gestures of respect for the forest and its lingering presence. Even in daylight, when the sun reflects off the waves and the beach seems idyllic, there is an undercurrent of unease. The stumps, jagged and silent, appear to watch and wait. Visitors often report that the sound of the waves, though constant, seems to carry whispers in certain spots, almost like conversations frozen in time. The forest's spirits, it seems, are patient. They do not rush. They simply endure, a silent testament to a world that once was and the people and creatures who inhabited it. Neskowin Ghost Forest is more than a natural wonder. It is a place where history, legend, and the inexplicable converge. Those who visit are drawn not only by the striking visual of stumps emerging from the sand, but also by the sense that the forest holds secrets that reach across millennia. The whispers, the shadows, and the inexplicable sensations are all part of an experience that is equal parts awe-inspiring and unnerving. And present blur, where nature's power and mystery are laid bare, and where the forest, though long buried, continues to speak. Rising sharply from the high desert of southeastern Oregon, Malheur Butte dominates the skyline with a silent, brooding presence. Its jagged cliffs and rocky outcrops stand stark against the flat expanse of sagebrush and dry grass that stretches across Malheur County. To the casual traveler, it is simply a striking natural formation, an imposing landmark in an otherwise open landscape. Yet those who spend time on its trails or camp near its base speak of an atmosphere charged with tension and an unsettling feeling of being watched. Over the years, the butte has earned a reputation for paranormal activity, drawing curious hikers, thrill-seekers, and those with an interest in the unexplained. Malheur Butte is steeped in history, particularly that of the Native American tribes who once called this land home. The Northern Paiute and other local tribes regarded the butte as sacred ground, a place imbued with spiritual significance. Some legends describe it as a vantage point where warriors would watch over the valley, protecting their people and hunting grounds. Others speak of rituals and ceremonies performed on its rocky ledges, offerings made to spirits of the land and sky. Today, some believe that these ancient practices left behind a lingering spiritual presence, and that the butte is still watched over by the souls of those long past. Hikers and explorers often report unusual experiences that defy logical explanation. Many speak of shadowy figures darting between rock formations, glimpses too quick to follow or photograph, yet unmistakably human in shape. These figures are rarely seen during the day. Most sightings occur in the dim light of dawn or the fading twilight of evening. Campers have described the sensation of being watched, an invisible gaze that seems to follow them across open clearings and narrow paths. In some cases, footsteps echo across the rock faces without any discernible source, and the wind carries soft whispers that vanish as quickly as they are heard. One hiker, Daniel, recounted a particularly unnerving encounter while ascending a narrow ledge near the butt's summit. As he paused to catch his breath, he noticed movement out of the corner of his Aja shadow, slipping silently between two boulders. He turned quickly, expecting to see another hiker, but the area was empty. Moments later, a low, guttural murmur seemed to rise from the rocks themselves, like voices in conversation, though he could not make out words. The sounds faded as he moved closer, leaving him with an eerie sense of intrusion, as though the land itself was warning him to keep his distance. Others have described sudden drops in temperature, chills that sweep over them even under the hot desert sun. These cold spots often occur near rock overhangs or secluded crevices, and sometimes linger long enough to provoke a sense of fear or awe. Animals are also said to react strangely. Dogs refuse to cross certain paths, and birds suddenly take flight from areas where no predator is apparent. Such reactions lend credibility, at least to believers, to the idea that Malheur Butte is a place alive with unseen energies. Local lore strengthens the butt's haunted reputation. Stories passed down through generations describe warrior spirits defending the land from intruders, sometimes appearing as fleeting shadows or ghostly figures. Some visitors claim to have felt a pressure on their shoulders, a weight that seems to warn against disrespecting the sacred terrain. Others report hearing the distant sound of drums echoing across the butte in a rhythm that is both hypnotic and unsettling, as though the spirits are reenacting ceremonies from centuries past. The geography of the butte itself adds to its sense of mystery. The jagged rocks, narrow ledges, and hidden alcoves create natural traps for the imagination. Shadows fall in unpredictable ways, and wind channels through crevices, producing moans, whistles, and hisses that mimic voices. During certain times of the year, fog can roll in from the surrounding desert, enveloping the butte in a dense, ghostly shroud. These conditions often make hikers feel disoriented, enhancing the sense that the land is watching, testing, and communicating in ways beyond the ordinary. Paranormal investigators occasionally visit Malheur Butte, drawn by its reputation and the many eyewitness accounts of strange occurrences. Recordings sometimes capture unexplained noises, temperature fluctuations, and anomalies in electromagnetic readings. While skeptics argue that these phenomena can be explained by natural causes, the wind, shifting rocks, or optical illusions, the persistence of reports over decades fuels speculation that something beyond the physical realm resides on the butte. Despite the eerie stories, The butte continues to attract those seeking adventure, solitude, or a brush with the unexplained. Hikers come to climb its rugged faces, birdwatchers to survey the valley below, and ghost enthusiasts to witness phenomena that defy explanation. For many, the thrill lies not only in the physical challenge of navigating the terrain, but in the palpable sense that the land carries stories and memories far older than any human visitor. It is a place where history, legend, and the unexplained converge, each layer adding depth to the enigmatic aura that surrounds the butte. Even for those who do not encounter ghostly figures or hear mysterious whispers, Malheur Butte leaves a lasting impression. Its stark, jagged silhouette against the desert sky evokes a sense of power and endurance. Standing atop its summit, one can gaze across the vast expanse of Malheur County, feeling a connection to the generations who once walked this land and the possibility that some of them never truly left. Every crevice, every shadowed rock seems to tell a story of vigilance, strength, and the lingering presence of spirits unwilling to fade quietly into history. In the end, Malheur Butte is more than just a striking geological feature. It is a place where nature's majesty intersects with human history and the unexplained. Visitors leave with memories that are difficult to articulate, fleeting glimpses, mysterious sounds, and a profound sense of awe. The butte is patient, unmoving, and eternal, yet alive in ways that challenge understanding. For those who walk its trails with respect and curiosity, it offers a glimpse into a world where the past continues to watch, guard, and whisper across the rocks. Nestled just outside the small town of Vononia, Scaponia Park appears, at first glance, to be the perfect escape into nature. By day, it is serene and inviting. Soft green grass stretches across gentle hills. Oak trees provide patches of comforting shade, and the sound of the nearby stream mingles with birdsong. Families picnic along the pathways. Joggers pass by on quiet trails, and children laugh as they play near the park's edges. Yet beneath this peaceful veneer lies a darker history, one that transforms Scaponia Park into a place of unease once the sun dips below the horizon. Local legend holds that, in the early 1900s, a drifter wandered into the Vononia area, man of unknown origin, who earned the suspicion and mistrust of townspeople. Tensions in the small community escalated quickly, fueled by rumors and fear. One fateful night, the drifter was captured and hanged from a massive oak tree in the heart of the park. Though the details of his life and death remain shrouded in mystery, the impact of that tragic night has lingered in the area for over a century. Residents speak in hushed tones about the event, warning visitors to respect the park after dark, lest they encounter what still remains. Many who have spent time at Scaponia Park after nightfall recount chilling experiences that defy explanation. The first and most common is a sudden drop in temperature near the oak tree where the drifter was hanged. Even on warm summer nights, a frost-like cold often settles in this area, as if the ground itself is remembering the horrors that occurred there. Hikers and night visitors describe a sharp, inexplicable chill that runs down the spine, accompanied by goosebumps and a distinct feeling of being observed. The sensation is often described as oppressive, as though an unseen presence is silently assessing intruders in its domain. Beyond the cold, other visitors report more tangible signs of the drifter's lingering presence. Some speak of faint whispers carried on the wind, voices that are too soft to understand, yet undeniably human. These sounds often occur when the park is otherwise silent, leaving no logical source for the noise. Shadows flit through the periphery of vision, moving too quickly to be clearly seen, but leaving a lasting impression. On several occasions, people have seen a figure near the oak tree's slender, indistinct, and appearing as if it is suspended between the past and the present. Approaching the figure often results in it vanishing, leaving only the sensation of having shared a moment with something not entirely of this world. A particularly eerie aspect of the park's haunting is the presence of a dog, or at least the sounds of one. Visitors have reported hearing the faint sound of barking or the soft padding of paws along the trails, especially in the area surrounding the oak tree. Locals believe this is the spirit of the drifter's loyal companion, eternally searching for its master. Sometimes, the sound of nails scraping against stone or leaves rustling is heard, only to vanish moments later, as if the dog has passed through a wall of reality itself. For those sensitive to the supernatural, the sound is not just unsettling, it is mournful, a reminder that grief and loyalty can linger beyond death. One night, a couple camping near the northern edge of the park experienced multiple phenomena in a single visit. They described hearing whispers and the unmistakable sound of a dog running near their tent. When they shone a flashlight toward the oak tree, a shadowy figure seemed to move just beyond the beam, disappearing entirely when they attempted to approach. The temperature around the tree dropped suddenly, their breath visible despite the mild autumn air. The couple left hastily, vowing never to return after dark. But their experience added another layer to the park's reputation as a site of spectral activity. Even during daylight hours, the park retains traces of its haunted history. Visitors often feel a subtle tension near the oak tree, a lingering heaviness in the air. Dogs on daytime walks may hesitate or grow uneasy near certain areas, as though reacting to something beyond human perception. While these encounters are far less dramatic than the nighttime experiences, they serve as reminders that Scaponia Park's history is etched deeply into the land itself. Paranormal investigators have periodically explored the park, drawn by its persistent reputation and the consistency of eyewitness accounts. Some have recorded temperature anomalies, EVP electronic voice phenomena, captures and unusual energy readings near the oak tree, while skeptics argue that environmental factors such as wind, temperature shifts, and wildlife can explain many of these occurrences. The sheer volume of reports over decades makes a purely natural explanation difficult to accept. For believers, the park is a living testament to the idea that tragic events can leave lasting imprints on the world, both physically and spiritually. Visitors today approach Scaponia Park with a mix of curiosity and caution. The park's beauty is undeniable. Meadows, trails, and streams provide a natural refuge for recreation and reflection. Yet, there is an unspoken agreement among those who understand its history. After sunset, the park belongs to another presence. The oak tree, scarred by time yet resilient, stands as both a witness and a reminder of the drifter's tragic fate. Its branches seem to stretch protectively over the surrounding area, a silent sentinel observing all who dare come near after dark. In many ways, Scaponia Park embodies the duality of human experience and memory. By day, it offers peace and recreation. By night, it carries the weight of history, grief, and unresolved spirits. For those who feel a connection to its stories, the park becomes more than just a location. It is a space where the living and the dead can coexist. However, briefly, and where the echoes of tragedy are carried on the wind, the plaintive bark of his loyal dog, and the soft whispers of a story that refuses to fade from memory. Lithia Park, nestled in the heart of Ashland, Oregon, is celebrated for its lush greenery, meandering pathways, and serene ponds. By day, the park is a haven for joggers, picnickers, and families enjoying the gentle shade of towering trees. Cherry blossoms and maples paint the landscape with vivid color, while the sounds of ducks paddling across the water and the soft murmur of a nearby creek create an atmosphere of calm and relaxation. Yet beneath this idyllic setting lies a story that has haunted the park for nearly a century and a half. A dark chapter that continues to echo in whispered reports and eerie sightings. In 1875, tragedy struck near the park's dock pond. A young girl, no more than 10 years old, was brutally murdered under circumstances that shocked the local community. Her death was sudden, violent, and left unsolved, leaving an indelible mark on the area. Though time has passed, the memory of that night lingers in the collective consciousness of Ashland, and locals speak of a presence that has never truly left Lithia Park. The girl's spirit, many believe, continues to linger near the pond. Her innocent life cut short, but her soul unable to find rest. Visitors to the dock pond at night have often described strange and unsettling phenomena. Perhaps the most frequently reported is the appearance of a faint blue mist rising from the water. Unlike natural fog or condensation, This mist is localized, sometimes forming only over the pond itself or drifting in unnatural patterns across the surface. Witnesses describe it as shimmering and ethereal, almost as if the water itself is exhaling the girl's sorrow. Those who have observed it often report a feeling of heaviness in the air, a sensation that something unseen is watching or approaching, though no figure is visible. Accompanying the mist, many visitors report hearing faint sounds, childlike giggles, or the soft, high-pitched voice of a young girl calling out. The laughter is fleeting, sometimes echoing briefly before vanishing entirely, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Some claim the laughter is interspersed with sobs or faint whispers, as though the girl is communicating, trying to convey a story that remains hidden to the living. Hikers and late-night walkers often describe turning suddenly at the sound, expecting to see a child, only to find the pond calm and empty, save for the reflective shimmer of the moon on the water. One resident, Mary, recounted an encounter while walking her dog along the pond's edge after dark. She noticed a soft glow hovering over the water, a pale blue haze that seemed to move with a life of its own. As she paused, she heard the unmistakable sound of a young girl laughing, light and innocent, followed immediately by a hush so profound it made her heart race. Her dog refused to move forward, growling softly at nothing that Mary could see. She described feeling a presence nearby, something gentle yet insistent, as if urging her to acknowledge the tragedy that had occurred there long ago. Another common account involves fleeting glimpses of a childlike figure near the water's edge. Witnesses often see a small silhouette, dressed in period clothing, standing silently, its face obscured by shadows. When approached, the figure vanishes without a trace, leaving behind only ripples in the water and the lingering feeling of having been watched. Sometimes, the figure appears to be playing near the water, skipping stones or crouching by the edge, yet there is never a sound of movement beyond the faintest echo of laughter. These encounters leave an impression of innocence, trapped in a place overshadowed by violence. Paranormal investigators have occasionally explored Lithia Park, drawn by the consistency of these reports. Using audio recording devices, infrared cameras, and EMF meters, they have documented unexplained phenomena near the dock pond. Some recordings capture faint giggling or whispering, while video footage sometimes shows misty anomalies hovering over the water. Temperature fluctuations are also commonly recorded, with sudden, localized chills enveloping the area near the pond. Skeptics suggest environmental factors may play a role, such as fog or reflective surfaces. But the repeated nature of these accounts over decades makes many believe the park holds a genuine haunting. Even during the daytime, there is a subtle tension near the dock pond. Photographers occasionally capture inexplicable blue hues in their images, small, unnatural shapes that appear near the water's edge. Children playing near the pond sometimes claim to see a girl standing or moving among the reeds, though adults rarely witness her directly. Dogs and cats may grow uneasy in the vicinity, barking or hissing at nothing, behaviors that reinforce the idea of a lingering presence. For many, these subtle signs are evidence that the girl's spirit has not moved on. Still bound to the site of her tragic death, the dock pond itself remains a focal point for these encounters, its placid surface concealing a deeper history. The surrounding oak trees, with their gnarled branches and dense shade, create pockets of darkness that seem to accentuate the eerie phenomena. The park's layout encourages reflection and quiet, and the combination of water, trees, and nightfall makes it easy to imagine the past overlapping with the present. For those willing to listen, the park seems to speak a soft, mournful communication carried on the breeze, urging respect for a life unjustly taken. Over time, Lithia Park has become a space where beauty and tragedy coexist. Daytime visitors enjoy its walking paths, gardens, and playgrounds, often unaware of the dark chapter embedded in its history. Yet at night, particularly near the dock pond, the park reveals a different face. The blue mist, the laughter, the silent presence of the girl all serve as reminders of the fragility of life and the enduring nature of unresolved grief. For those who feel a connection, Whether curious or reverent, Lithia Park is a place where the past is never truly gone, and where the whispers of a child lost to time continue to ripple across the water. Silver Falls State Park, often hailed as the Niagara of the West, is a sprawling natural wonder in Oregon. Celebrated for its cascading waterfalls, lush forest trails, and serene beauty. During the day, the park is alive with the chatter of visitors, the rhythmic roar of water plunging over cliffs, and the rich scent of moss and pine carried on the breeze. Hikers follow winding trails that lead to mist-kissed pools and breathtaking viewpoints, while photographers capture the sun filtering through towering Douglas firs. Yet, beneath this tranquil exterior, the park harbors stories that chill even the most seasoned visitors. Tales of lingering spirits, tragic love, and encounters that defy explanation. The legend most commonly associated with Silver Falls tells of a young couple, deeply in love, whose lives ended abruptly in heartbreak. According to local lore, they were separated by family opposition and societal pressures in the early 1900s. One fateful day, the couple planned a secret meeting near one of the park's waterfalls, hoping to escape the constraints of their lives. Tragically, an accident occurred. Some say one fell into the river and was swept away, while others claim both perished attempting to be together. Ever since, it is said their spirits remain, wandering the falls and trails, bound together in life and in death, unable to find peace. Visitors to the park have reported a range of unsettling phenomena that some believe are linked to this tragic tale. One of the most frequently mentioned experiences is the sudden appearance of cold spots along the trails and near the waterfalls. Hikers describe walking through sunlit clearings, only to be enveloped in an icy chill that seems to have no natural source. The cold is often localized, sometimes affecting only a few feet of the trail or a single observation deck, leaving an eerie contrast with the otherwise warm surroundings. These drops in temperature are often accompanied by a heavy sensation, as if an unseen presence is standing nearby. Another common report involves the sensation of being followed. Many hikers describe the feeling that someone is keeping pace with them. Yet, when they glance over their shoulder, the trail appears empty. The rustle of leaves and distant snapping of twigs often reinforces this feeling, though no human presence is ever found. Dogs are sometimes observed reacting to these invisible companions, barking or growling at spots where no one stands. The sense of unseen company can be unnerving, particularly on isolated paths near the waterfalls, where the sound of rushing water both conceals and amplifies the phenomenon. Shadowy figures are among the most unsettling experiences reported at Silver Falls. Witnesses describe humanoid silhouettes appearing near the edges of the waterfalls or moving through the dense forest undergrowth. These figures are often fleeting, vanishing when approached or when light falls upon them, leaving only a lingering sense of loss or longing. Some hikers insist that these shadows move together, as though they are connected, echoing the story of the doomed lovers whose spirits are said to wander the park. The figures are usually described as mist-like or slightly translucent, blending with the fog rising from the falls, giving them an otherworldly presence that is difficult to dismiss. One hiker, Emily, recounted an encounter on the Trail of 10 Falls during a late afternoon hike. As she paused to photograph a cascading waterfall, she felt a sudden chill and noticed movement out of the corner of her eye. A shadowy figure appeared near the water's edge, indistinct yet undeniably human in shape. When she turned fully toward it, the figure had vanished, leaving only the mist rising from the falls and the soft roar of the water. Moments later, she heard faint laughter, light and sorrowful, carried on the wind. The experience left her shaken, yet she felt an odd sense of connection, as if the story of love and loss were being communicated directly to her. Other visitors describe hearing faint whispers or murmurs among the trees, often indistinct yet unmistakably human in tone. The sounds are sometimes accompanied by the feeling of gentle touches of brush against the shoulder, a soft tug at clothing that disappear before they can be acknowledged. Photographers and night hikers occasionally capture strange light anomalies or mist-like forms in images taken near the waterfalls, further fueling the belief that the park is home to lingering spirits. while skeptics attribute these occurrences to natural phenomena, such as shifting mist, wind, or optical illusions. The consistency of reports across decades has kept the legend alive. Silver Falls itself seems to amplify the park's mysterious aura. The roar of the waterfalls can mask distant noises, making faint whispers or footsteps seem closer than they are. Pools below the falls sometimes appear unusually still, reflecting shapes and colors that seem out of place. Certain areas of the park, particularly secluded alcoves and side trails, are frequently reported as hotspots for paranormal activity, where the presence of the lost lovers is said to be most keenly felt. The combination of natural beauty, isolation, and the tragic story creates a powerful atmosphere that lingers long after visitors leave. Despite perhaps because of these tales, Silver Falls State Park continues to draw thousands of visitors each year. Hikers, photographers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike are drawn to its scenic beauty and haunting stories. While daytime exploration offers awe-inspiring landscapes, those who venture near the falls at dusk or after dark sometimes find themselves in a place where the boundary between past and present blurs. It is a location where the beauty of nature intertwines with sorrow, a place where stories of love and tragedy are etched into the rocks, trees, and waters themselves. For those who tread the park's trails with respect and awareness, Silver Falls offers more than scenic wonder. It provides a connection to something beyond the ordinary. The cold spots, shadowy figures, and whispered voices serve as reminders that some stories never truly end, that the bonds of love and grief can transcend the limits of life. As the water cascades endlessly over cliffs and into pools below, the spirits of the ill-fated lovers are said to linger, forever entwined in sorrow. Their presence a quiet testament to the power of memory, emotion, and the mysteries that remain hidden within the natural world. Mount Hood National Forest stretches across more than 1 million acres in Oregon, offering a sanctuary of towering evergreens, alpine meadows, glacial streams, and rugged wilderness. At its heart stands Mount Hood itself, its snow-capped peak dominating the skyline and drawing visitors from all over the world. By day, the forest hums with life. Hikers trek winding trails, anglers cast lines into cold rivers, and campers sit by crackling fires under a canopy of stars. But as night falls and silence settles over the wilderness, the forest takes on an entirely different character, one that is whispered about in countless tales of mystery and the supernatural. The stories of Mount Hood National Forest are not just about its natural grandeur, but also about what lurks unseen within its depths. For decades, hikers and explorers have shared eerie accounts of hearing disembodied voices calling their names in the dark. These voices often seem to come from just beyond the tree line, or deeper into the shadows of the trail, beckoning them to stray from their path. Some describe the voices as familiar sounding, like a friend or loved one, if though no one is near. Others recount voices that are faint, ghostly murmurs, unintelligible, yet filled with a strange sense of urgency. These phantom calls are unsettling enough, but they are often accompanied by sightings of shadowy figures moving swiftly among the trees. Witnesses describe glimpses of human-like shapes darting from trunk to trunk, always on the edge of vision, never fully revealing themselves. Hikers sometimes freeze in their tracks, convinced someone else is in the forest with them, only to find themselves utterly alone. The figures seem to move in unnatural silence, slipping through the underbrush without disturbing leaves or snapping twigs, leaving behind only the creeping sense of being watched. Many believe these are not mere tricks of the mind, but the spirits of travelers who became lost in the vast wilderness and never found their way out. Mount Hood National Forest is immense, and its trails can be treacherous, especially in poor weather. Over the decades, countless people have gone missing here, some never to be recovered. The theory goes that their restless spirits linger in the woods, eternally searching for the trails they once lost. Their voices call out, hoping for help or companionship, but leading the living deeper into the forest's grip. One chilling story, often retold by locals, involves a solo hiker named Daniel, who ventured into the forest in the late autumn. As the sun dipped below the horizon, and shadows lengthened. He began to hear his name being called. The voice was soft at first, echoing faintly between the trees, but grew clearer as he continued walking. Convinced it was a friend who had come to surprise him, Daniel followed the sound deeper into the woods. Hours later, when he realized he had strayed from the trail, panic set in. His flashlight caught glimpses of a dark figure ahead, moving just out of reach. No matter how fast he walked, the figure remained the same distance away, as though leading him on. Daniel barely made it back by morning, exhausted and shaken, swearing the voice had belonged to his brother, who had been hundreds of miles away at the time. Others speak of hikers who never returned at all. Search parties have combed the forest, only to find abandoned campsites, scattered belongings, or trails that vanish into nothingness. Some investigators claim to have heard the same eerie voices during searches, as if the missing was still calling out from somewhere just beyond reach. It is stories like these that fuel the belief that the forest is more than a natural landscape, is a realm where the veil between the living and the dead is dangerously thin. Adding to the forest's unsettling reputation are reports of sudden drops in temperature, even on warm summer nights. Campers describe sitting by their fires when an icy chill sweeps through, extinguishing the flames and leaving them shivering in the dark. Strange lights have also been spotted weaving through the trees, glowing orbs that float silently before vanishing without a trace. Skeptics suggest these could be will-o'-the-wisps or reflections of light on mist, but those who have experienced them firsthand insist they felt an intelligence behind the glow. Paranormal investigators who have visited Mount Hood National Forest often describe it as one of the most active regions they've ever explored. Some bring specialized equipment, audio recorders, cameras, electromagnetic detectors, and capture chilling evidence. Recordings taken deep within the forest sometimes reveal voices not heard at the time. Faint whispers, saying things like "help me," or simply repeating a hiker's name. Photographs show translucent shapes that seem almost human, standing among the trees before fading away. Yet the haunting presence of the forest is not always menacing. Some visitors report feelings of overwhelming sadness rather than fear, as if the spirits are not trying to harm them but simply reaching out in sorrow. A few even claim to have been guided by these unseen presences back to safety after losing their way. The voices in these accounts did not lure them deeper, but instead led them back toward the trail, disappearing once they were safe again. These stories paint a complex picture of the entities said to inhabit Mount Hood, restless, perhaps lost, but not always malicious. Still, caution is advised when exploring the vastness of the forest. Locals often warn newcomers not to follow voices they hear at night, no matter how familiar they may sound. They also advise against chasing after figures glimpsed among the trees, reminding hikers that the line between natural danger and supernatural influence can blur quickly in such an environment. Whether the forest is truly haunted or simply home to the echoes of tragedy, its mysteries remain deeply embedded in the collective imagination of those who walk its trails. Mount Hood National Forest is a place of breathtaking beauty and formidable power, a wilderness that inspires awe by day and unease by night. Its towering trees and endless trails invite exploration, but they also conceal secrets that may never be fully understood. Whether the stories of disembodied voices and shadowy figures are the spirits of lost travelers or the manifestations of the forest itself, one thing is certain: those who enter Mount Hood National Forest often leave with more questions than answers, carrying with them the memory of a place where the living and the lost seem to walk side by side. Umpqua National Forest, nestled in southern Oregon, stretches across nearly 1 million acres of dense coniferous forests, meandering rivers, and rugged mountains, known for its natural beauty and recreational opportunities. The forest attracts hikers, campers, and nature enthusiasts seeking tranquility and adventure. Towering Douglas firs, western hemlocks, and Sitka spruce dominate the landscape, their branches forming a thick canopy that filters sunlight into soft, green-hued patterns on the forest floor. Yet, beneath this serene exterior, the forest holds secrets that have haunted those who venture too far into its depths. Visitors often speak of an unsettling energy that seems to linger in certain areas. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of footsteps in the dark. Campers describe sitting quietly around a crackling fire, only to hear the soft crunch of leaves or the snap of twigs approaching their tents. Upon stepping outside or shining a flashlight, they find nothing, no human presence, no animals, just a faint echo of their own racing hearts. Some hikers claim that the footsteps follow them along trails, appearing to match their pace, then vanish as suddenly as they came. These inexplicable sounds have led many to believe that the forest is haunted by spirits of early settlers, those who once traversed these lands and whose stories were left unfinished. In addition to auditory phenomena, visual anomalies are also common. Numerous reports describe flickering lights seen deep within the trees or along isolated clearings. These lights often resemble lanterns carried by unseen hands, appearing and disappearing without pattern. Some witnesses recall glimpsing a faint silhouette near the glow, only to have it vanish when approached. The combination of sudden lights and the forest's natural shadows creates a haunting effect that unsettles even the most seasoned hikers. Locals speculate that these apparitions could be the lingering spirits of pioneers or settlers, trapped between worlds, wandering the land they once claimed and protected. Historical context adds weight to these eerie accounts. Umpqua National Forest was once home to early settlers and pioneers who faced harsh conditions and isolation. Many perished from accidents, illness, or encounters with the wilderness, leaving behind traces of their lives and labor. Over the decades, the forest has witnessed logging operations, homesteading, and travel along rugged trails, all leaving a human imprint on the landscape. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that these energies have not dissipated, but remain, manifesting as auditory and visual phenomena to those sensitive enough to perceive them. One camper described an unsettling night near a remote creek. As darkness fell, a soft whisper seemed to drift through the trees, punctuated by the unmistakable sound of footsteps on the forest floor. Peering into the darkness, the camper caught a glimpse of a small, glowing light moving among the shadows. When she rose to investigate, the light flickered and vanished, leaving only the gentle rush of the creek and the eerie silence of the forest. The experience left her convinced that she had encountered a spirit tied to the land, a presence from another time, silently observing and interacting with the living. Hikers exploring the more remote trails of Umpqua have also reported similar encounters. Figures glimpsed between the trees often appear shadowy and indistinct, disappearing whenever approached. Some trails are described as having a peculiar stillness, where even the wind seems hesitant to move through the branches. In these moments, the forest feels alive with unseen observers, a reminder that the area is more than just a collection of trees and streams. It is a space imbued with history, memory, and lingering presence. Even modern visitors, accustomed to technology and city life, are not immune to the forest's eerie reputation. In experiencing sudden chills in the absence of wind or weather changes. While skeptics often attribute these phenomena to natural causes, the consistency of reports over decades suggests that Umpqua National Forest holds a deeper, more enigmatic presence. For those who venture into the forest, the experience is both awe-inspiring and humbling. The beauty of the rivers, waterfalls, and towering trees is undeniable, yet the subtle, unexplained occurrences add a layer of mystery and respect for the land. Whether the forest is truly haunted by the spirits of early settlers, or whether these experiences are manifestations of human perception, there is no denying that Umpqua National Forest captivates the imagination. In the quiet moments between the rustle of leaves and the flow of creeks, one can sense the stories of those who lived, worked, and perished in this vast wilderness. Footsteps echo through the darkness, lantern-like lights drift through the trees, and whispers seem to float on the wind, leaving visitors with a lingering sense that the past is never far away. Umpqua National Forest is not merely a natural sanctuary, it is a place where history, mystery, and the unseen converge, creating an atmosphere that is as beautiful as it is haunting. Deschutes National Forest in Central Oregon is a place of remarkable beauty, a landscape painted with towering pines, volcanic peaks, and serene lakes that mirror the endless sky. Stretching across nearly 2 million acres, it is a haven for outdoor enthusiasts, offering trails for hikers, clear waters for anglers, and hidden corners for those who crave solitude. Yet, beyond its peaceful surface, the forest carries a darker legacy, a chilling story that has lingered in local lore for nearly a century. It is a tale of violence, mystery, and lingering spirits. The unsolved murders at Little Lava Lake. In the winter of 1924, 3 fur trappers set out into the Deschutes wilderness. Edward Nichols, Roy Wilson, and Dewey Morris were seasoned woodsmen, accustomed to the harsh demands of the Oregon backcountry. They established camp near Little Lava Lake, a remote spot where the frozen expanse of water was surrounded by thick forest and rising ridge lines. Their work was grueling but rewarding, as the region's wilderness promised a bounty of pelts. The men were last seen alive in December, carrying supplies into their camp, before the snow sealed them off for the season. For months, no one heard from them. When spring arrived and the ice began to thaw, locals grew concerned. A search party was organized, and what they found beneath the melting snow and shifting ice remains one of the most gruesome and baffling crimes in Oregon's history. The bodies of the 3 trappers were discovered beneath the surface of Little Lava Lake, their camp left eerily abandoned. Their sled dogs were gone, their supplies scattered, and the killers had vanished without a trace. The brutality of the crime shocked the community, and despite investigations, no clear motive or suspect was ever identified. The murders at Little Lava Lake remain unsolved to this day, a mystery frozen in time like the icy waters that concealed their bodies. It is this unsolved nature, coupled with the violence of their deaths, that many believe has left an imprint on Deschutes National Forest. Visitors who venture near Little Lava Lake often report strange and unsettling experiences. Some describe the feeling of being watched, a presence that hovers just out of sight, heavy and oppressive. Others recount hearing muffled voices in the stillness, as though conversations from the past continue to echo across the frozen water. On especially quiet nights, a few claim to hear the distant barking of dogs, though no animals are anywhere nearby. One camper, recounting his experience from a late autumn trip, spoke of waking in the night to the sound of crunching footsteps on the icy shore. At first, he thought it was another camper moving about, but when he peered from his tent, the shoreline was deserted. The sounds continued, pacing back and forth, circling his camp. When he finally stepped outside with his lantern, the noise stopped abruptly. The air felt unnaturally still, and the only thing before him was the reflection of the moon on the black, glassy surface of the lake. He packed up the next morning and swore never to return. There are also reports of flickering lights near the lake, described as lanterns moving steadily across the shoreline before vanishing into the trees. These lights appear most often in the winter months, when the trappers themselves met their fate. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that the lights are connected to the spirits of the men, perhaps replaying their final moments or searching endlessly for justice. Photographs taken in the area sometimes reveal strange mist-like forms hovering above the ice, even when no natural fog is present. Some hikers who have braved the trails around Little Lava Lake speak of shadowy figures seen moving through the trees, always keeping their distance but never fully disappearing. The figures are tall, human-like, and often appear in groups of 3, vanishing when approached. To many, this eerie detail reinforces the belief that the murdered trappers still wander together, bound to the place where their lives ended so violently. Skeptics suggest more rational explanations. The footsteps may be caused by shifting ice or the movement of animals. The lights could be distant campers or reflections. The voices might be tricks of wind moving through the trees. Yet even skeptics admit the atmosphere around Little Lava Lake is undeniably strange, charged with an energy that is difficult to dismiss. The weight of history, the brutality of the crime, and the mystery that surrounds it combine to create a palpable sense of unease. The story of the trappers has become part of local folklore, passed down through generations. Old-timers warn newcomers not to linger near the lake after dark, and some believe that disrespect toward the site can stir the spirits into anger. A few claim that those who mock the story or treat the murders as entertainment have suffered sudden accidents, falls on the trail, equipment failures, or inexplicable illnesses after visiting the area. Whether coincidence or curse, these incidents have only added to the legend's persistence. For paranormal investigators, Little Lava Lake is a place of fascination. Teams equipped with recorders and cameras have attempted to capture evidence of the haunting. Some have recorded unexplained whispers, their words indistinct but urgent. Others have captured sudden drops in temperature, their breath visible even in mild weather. A handful of photographs show streaks of light or ghostly apparitions, though interpretations vary. To believers, these are clear signs of lingering unrest. To skeptics, they are artifacts of imagination and chance. Regardless of one's perspective, the unsolved murders of 1924 remain a chilling chapter in the history of Deschutes National Forest. The forest itself carries on, its beauty unchanged, drawing thousands each year who come to fish, hike, or simply breathe in the pine-scented air. But for those who know the story, Little Lava Lake is more than a scenic destination. It is a place where history and mystery converge, where the silence of the wilderness seems to whisper of injustice, and where the restless spirits of three men may still wander, searching for the truth that has eluded the living for nearly a century. Cape Perpetua's scenic area, perched along the central Oregon coast, is one of the state's most dramatic landscapes. Towering headlands rise high above the Pacific Ocean, offering sweeping views of crashing waves, tide pools brimming with marine life, and forests of Sitka spruce and Douglas fir. It is a place of breathtaking natural beauty, where rugged cliffs meet the restless sea, and visitors often describe feeling both humbled and inspired by its wild grandeur. But beyond its postcard-worthy vistas, Cape Perpetua carries an atmosphere that unsettles as much as it awes. Local legends and countless eyewitness accounts suggest that this coastal wonder is also a place where the spirits of the past linger, forever bound to the windswept cliffs and stormy waters. The stories often begin with the whispers. Many visitors report hearing faint voices carried by the wind, drifting through the trees or echoing along the cliffs. The voices are indistinct, sometimes urgent, sometimes mournful, but always haunting. Hikers along the trails have stopped in their tracks, convinced someone was behind them, only to find the path deserted. Campers describe lying awake at night in the forested campgrounds, the ocean roaring in the distance, when a whispering chorus drifts through their tents. The words are never clear, but the tone is unmistakably human, filled with longing or sorrow. Some believe these whispers belong to the spirits of sailors lost at sea, their voices carried back to shore on the same winds that once drove their ships into disaster. The Oregon coast has a long and tragic history of shipwrecks, and Cape Perpetua was often at the center of the danger. Its jagged reefs, hidden beneath turbulent waters, claimed countless vessels over the centuries. Sailors navigating these treacherous waters often found themselves at the mercy of storms, with no safe harbor in sight. Many ships never made it past the Cape, their crews swallowed by the relentless Pacific. One particularly enduring tale involves a storm in the late 1800s, when a schooner bound for San Francisco was wrecked near the base of the Cape. According to local lore, the ship splintered against the rocks, and most of the crew perished in the churning sea. Fishermen and beachcombers who searched the shore for survivors claimed they heard cries for help long after the storm had passed. Even now, some visitors swear they hear the sound of desperate voices rising from the surf during stormy nights, as though the sailors' final moments are forever imprinted on the coastline. Equally unsettling are the shadowy figures often spotted moving among the trees. Hikers on the forested trails have described glimpsing tall, indistinct forms pacing between the trunks, always just beyond clear view. The figures appear most often at dusk, when the light fades and the forest grows dim. Some witnesses say the figures vanish when approached, melting into the shadows. Others report seeing them standing silently on the cliffs, gazing out to sea, as though watching for ships that will never return. To many, these apparitions are the spirits of mariners who once sailed the waters, their watch never ending even in death. One traveler recounted walking near the Devil's Churn, a narrow inlet where waves crash violently against the rocks. As he stood watching the ocean's fury, he noticed a figure in an old-fashioned seaman-esque coat standing on the opposite side of the inlet. The man appeared soaked, his head bowed, and his posture heavy with grief. When the traveler blinked, the figure was gone, leaving only the roar of the waves. Shaken, he later learned that the area had long been associated with the ghosts of drowned sailors. The whispers and apparitions are not the only strange phenomena reported at Cape Perpetua. Some visitors tell of sudden drops in temperature, even on warm summer days, as though a cold presence has passed nearby. Others describe the eerie sensation of being followed along the trails, accompanied by faint footsteps that stop whenever they turn around. Photographers have captured strange mists in their images, curling forms that appear human-like in shape, even when no fog was present at the time. A few have even claimed to see lantern-like lights bobbing along the shoreline, reminiscent of ship lamps carried by hands unseen. Paranormal investigators who have visited Cape Perpetua often remark on the energy of the place. They describe it as heavy, almost electric, particularly near the viewpoints overlooking the ocean. Audio recorders sometimes capture faint voices, unintelligible whispers, or even cries that were not heard at the time. Some believe the combination of natural elements, the ocean, the wind, and the forest creates a perfect environment for spirits to manifest, amplifying the lingering energies of those who perished nearby. Despite the unsettling stories, there is also a sense of reverence that accompanies the legends of Cape Perpetua. Many locals view the hauntings not as threats but as reminders of the lives lost to the unforgiving sea. The spirits, they say, are not malicious but sorrowful, bound to the coastline out of duty or grief. To stand on the cliffs and hear the wind carry a whisper is, in a way, to connect with the past, to feel the presence of those who gave their lives to the ocean. For modern visitors, the Cape remains a place of both wonder and unease. By day, it offers some of the most breathtaking views on the Oregon coast, from the sprawling tide pools of the Spouting Horn to the dramatic crash of waves at Thor Eswell. But when the sun sets and the forest grows dark, it becomes a different world, a place where the line between natural and supernatural blurs. The whispers on the wind, the figures in the trees, and the lantern lights along the shore all contribute to an atmosphere that is as haunting as it is unforgettable. Cape Perpetua's scenic area stands as a reminder of nature's duality: beautiful and dangerous, life-giving and life-taking. Its rugged cliffs and storm-lashed waters are monuments to both survival and loss, and the spirits said to wander its forests and shores ensure that its history is never forgotten. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, there is no denying the powerful presence of the place, where the past seems always close at hand, and the voices of the sea may still be calling. The Mount Jefferson Wilderness, spread across the Cascade Range of Central Oregon, is a landscape of stark beauty and untamed wilderness. Covering more than 100,000 acres, it is defined by rugged peaks, alpine lakes, and dense forests that stretch for miles in every direction. At its heart rises Mount Jefferson, a towering volcano, whose snow-capped summit dominates the skyline. For adventurers, the wilderness is a paradise, an escape into raw nature where solitude is easily found. Yet the same isolation that draws hikers and campers has also given rise to eerie tales. Over the years, countless visitors have described encounters that suggest this wilderness is more than just a natural wonder. Strange sounds, mysterious shadows, and ghostly presences linger within the trees, creating an atmosphere that unsettles even the most seasoned outdoorsmen. One of the most common experiences reported by hikers is the unnerving sound of footsteps following them along the trails. These accounts often begin innocently enough, someone walking alone through the forest, surrounded by the crunch of leaves and the calls of distant birds. Then, suddenly, the sound of another set of footsteps emerges, matching pace just a few feet behind. Many hikers describe stopping to look, expecting to see a fellow traveler on the trail, only to find themselves completely alone. The footsteps stop when they stop, resume when they begin walking again, and sometimes vanish as abruptly as they appeared. For those who have endured this chilling phenomenon, the sensation of being followed is not only impossible to ignore, but also deeply unsettling. Others recount glimpses of shadowy figures moving between the trees. These figures appear most often in the dim light of dawn or dusk, when the wilderness takes on a dreamlike quality. Witnesses describe tall, indistinct forms, slipping between the trunks, always just out of clear view. Some say the figures vanish when approached, dissolving into the shadows as though they were never there. In several cases, hikers reported seeing more than one figure, suggesting not a single apparition but many, wandering the forest in silence. The figures leave no trace, no footprints or signs of passage, leaving behind only a profound sense of unease. These stories have given rise to the belief that the Mount Jefferson Wilderness is haunted by the spirits of those who entered its depths and never returned. The wilderness is vast and unforgiving, and its history includes many accounts of lost travelers. Some became disoriented in the dense forests, others fell victim to sudden storms or rugged terrain. In the early days of settlement, prospectors and explorers occasionally vanished in these mountains, their fates unknown. Even in modern times, search and rescue teams have scoured the wilderness for missing hikers, with some cases remaining unsolved. For locals and adventurers alike, it is not difficult to imagine that the souls of these lost wanderers still roam the land, bound to the wilderness that claimed them. One legend tells of a young man who set out alone decades ago, seeking solitude and inspiration in the shadow of Mount Jefferson. He never returned, and though search parties combed the forest, his body was never found. To this day, some hikers claim to encounter a solitary figure dressed in outdated hiking gear, standing quietly on the trail or gazing toward the mountain's peak. When approached, the figure fades away, leaving nothing but silence in its wake. Many believe this apparition to be the restless spirit of the lost adventurer, forever tied to the wilderness. He loved campers to share unsettling stories. When they gather the courage to look, they find only empty forest and the glow of their campfire. Others report distant voices calling through the trees, faint but clear, often calling their names. These voices seem to drift closer, then fade away, leaving campers shaken and sleepless. While some dismiss these accounts as tricks of the wind or imagination, those who have heard them insist the voices were far too human, far too real, to be illusions. Photographs taken in the wilderness occasionally add fuel to the legends. Some visitors claim to have captured unexplained shapes in their images, misty forms, resembling human outlines, or orbs of light hovering in the forest. Though skeptics attribute such phenomena to natural causes like light flares or moisture, others believe these are visual traces of the spirits that linger in the area. Paranormal investigators who have visited the wilderness describe an atmosphere thick with energy, particularly near secluded lakes and along less traveled trails. Even seasoned outdoorsmen have admitted to strange encounters. Experienced hunters have spoken of seeing human-like forms deep in the trees, moving with uncanny speed and vanishing without sound. Backpackers have described sudden chills sweeping over them in otherwise warm weather, accompanied by the feeling of unseen eyes watching their every move. A few have even reported dreams of lost travelers while camping in the wilderness. Vivid visions of men and women calling for help, only to wake and find their camps eerily silent. The wilderness itself seems to play a role in the legends. Its isolation, vastness, and unpredictable weather have long inspired both awe and fear. Storms can descend without warning, trails vanish under snow or fog, and the dense forests can turn even experienced hikers around. In such an environment, the boundary between the natural and the supernatural blurs, leaving the imagination free to run wild. Yet the sheer consistency of the story's footsteps, figures, voices suggests that something more than imagination is at work in these woods. For those who venture into the Mount Jefferson Wilderness, the beauty is undeniable. Crystal clear lakes reflect the towering peak, meadows bloom with wildflowers in summer, and the forest hums with life. But beneath the surface lies a darker truth, one whispered through countless experiences and stories. The footsteps in the dark, the figures in the trees, and the voices on the wind remind visitors that they are never truly alone, no matter how deep they travel into solitude. Whether these encounters are the echoes of lost souls or the manifestations of something older, something tied to the land itself, the wilderness carries a presence that lingers long after hikers return home. The Mount Jefferson Wilderness remains a place of contrasts, stunning beauty entwined with haunting mystery. For every traveler who finds peace in its solitude, another finds unease in its shadows. Perhaps that is the true nature of the wilderness, to reflect both the wonder and the fear within those who dare to walk its paths. And perhaps, in the rustle of leaves or the crunch of unseen footsteps, the voices of the lost continue to speak, reminding us of the price of venturing too far into the unknown. The Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest sprawls across southern Oregon, a vast and varied wilderness that stretches from the rugged coastline into the foothills of the Siskiyou Mountains. With more than 1 million acres of dense forests, rushing rivers, jagged peaks, and hidden valleys, it is a haven for hikers, anglers, and campers seeking the quiet majesty of untouched nature. By day, the forest is alive with the sounds of wildlife songbirds flitting between Douglas firs, the rustle of deer through the underbrush, and the constant murmur of streams and rivers. But as the sun dips below the horizon and shadows deepen among the towering trees, the forest reveals a darker, more mysterious side. Countless visitors have reported experiences that cannot be explained, strange occurrences that suggest the spirits of the past may still linger among the trees. One of the most frequently reported phenomena in the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest is the sound of footsteps at night. Campers sitting by their fires often hear the unmistakable crunch of boots on leaves and twigs approaching their campsite. The sound seems to circle the tents, grow closer, then fade away, leaving only the eerie hush of the forest. Those who have experienced it describe the sense of being watched, as though the unseen presence is aware of every movement, yet remains just out of reach. Some hikers report the footsteps following them along trails in the deep woods, appearing to mimic their pace perfectly, always keeping just beyond the range of sight. Many locals believe these spectral footsteps belong to the spirits of early settlers who once traversed these lands. In the 1800s, pioneers and homesteaders ventured into this rugged terrain, carving farms and settlements from the dense forest. Life was harsh, and many perished from accidents, disease, or exposure to the elements. Their stories, passed down through generations, suggest that some never truly left the land they tried to inhabit. Today, their spirits may roam the forest, retracing the paths they once walked, compelled by the landscapes that defined their lives. Another common and equally unsettling occurrence is the appearance of flickering lights in the distance. Hikers and campers have described seeing small, glowing orbs or lantern-like lights moving among the trees, bobbing gently as if carried by unseen hands. At first, these lights can appear friendly or inviting, as though guiding travelers, but attempts to approach them often prove futile. The lights vanish or move just beyond reach, leaving only the dark forest behind. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest these lights could be manifestations of the settler spirits, wandering at night along familiar trails, forever bound to the land they once called home. There are numerous accounts of campers encountering both phenomena, together hearing footsteps and then spotting a distant lantern flicker through the trees. One man recounted camping near the banks of the Rogue River. As the fire burned low, he heard slow, deliberate footsteps approaching his tent. Thinking it might be another camper, he unzipped the flap, but the site was empty. Moments later, a faint light glimmered across the riverbank, moving as if someone or something was carrying it through the shadows. Terrified yet captivated, he watched until the light vanished entirely, leaving only the gentle lapping of the river against the shore. Some who have explored deeper into the forest report feeling sudden drops in temperature, accompanied by the sensation of a presence pressing close. The forest, silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves, seems to close in, amplifying the unnerving feeling of being observed. Photographers have captured unexplained streaks of light in their images, and some even claim to have glimpsed tall, shadowy figures slipping between the trees, vanishing as quickly as they appear. The consistency of these reports over decades has made the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest a site of fascination for both folklore enthusiasts and paranormal investigators alike. Paranormal teams who have visited the area often point to its isolation as a factor in the intensity of the experiences. With miles of trails winding through remote valleys and thick forests, the land remains largely untouched by modern development, which many believe allows residual energies to linger. Audio recordings sometimes capture faint voices or whispered words, barely discernible over the natural sounds of the forest. Investigators also note that certain trails and campsites seem to be hotspots for sightings, suggesting that some areas hold a stronger connection to the past than others. The forest's history contributes heavily to its spectral reputation. The settlers who came here were resilient and resourceful, but the harsh conditions claimed many lives. Those who survived often spoke of friends or neighbors disappearing without explanation, leaving behind abandoned cabins or scattered belongings. Some legends even tell of settlers appearing in the forest long after their deaths, guiding travelers, warning the living, or silently retracing their final paths. These stories, blending fact and folklore, have persisted in the region, giving the forest an aura of lingering sorrow and watchfulness. Visitors today often enter the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest seeking adventure or tranquility, but many leave with an awareness of something deeper and more enigmatic. The footsteps that circle empty campsites, the lights that drift between the trees, and the sudden chills that descend from nowhere all serve as reminders that the forest carries more than natural beauty. It is a place where history, memory, and the unexplained converge. A wilderness haunted not by malevolence, but by the enduring presence of those who once lived, labored, and perished here. For those who wander its trails at dusk or set up camp beneath the towering pines, the forest is not merely a collection of trees and rivers, it is a living monument to the past. Every rustle of leaves, flicker of light, and echoing footstep may be a whisper from history, a fleeting glimpse of the settlers who shaped this land and never truly left. Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest is a place of wonder and beauty, but also a realm where the veil between the living and the past seems impossibly thin, inviting the brave to witness its mysteries firsthand. The Wallow-Whitman National Forest in northeastern Oregon is a land of striking contrasts, where rugged mountains meet dense forests and sparkling rivers carve their way through deep valleys. Spanning over 2 million acres, the forest encompasses the majestic Wallowa Mountains, the Eagle Cap Wilderness, and countless alpine lakes that shimmer beneath the clear blue sky. By day, it is a paradise for hikers, climbers, and nature enthusiasts who come to traverse its challenging trails, fish in its pristine waters, or simply immerse themselves in the beauty of the wilderness. But beneath its breathtaking vistas lies a layer of mystery and history that is less visible, yet profoundly felt by those who venture into its depths. Stories of the unexplained have long been woven into the fabric of the Wallow-Whitman National Forest. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are disembodied voices. Hikers often describe hearing their names called while navigating remote trails or dense thickets. The voices are sometimes faint, whispering through the rustling leaves, and other times startlingly clear, echoing across mountain ridges. When hikers turn to investigate, the forest appears empty, yet the sensation of being watched lingers. These auditory encounters are unnerving, particularly in the solitude of the wilderness, where silence usually dominates. Some visitors report that the voices seem to carry emotion, urgency, warning, or even sorrowous, if conveying messages from a time long past. Equally unsettling are the shadowy figures seen moving between the trees. Witnesses describe tall, indistinct shapes that vanish when approached, as though aware of the observer, but refusing to reveal themselves. Sometimes, these figures appear at the edge of a clearing, watching silently before melting into the forest shadows. Other times, they move along trails, appearing to mirror the hiker's own pace, always keeping just out of reach. The combination of voices and fleeting apparitions gives the forest an otherworldly quality, where the line between the living and the spectral seems to blur. Many believe that these unexplained occurrences are connected to the region's deep Native American history. For thousands of years, tribes such as the Nez Perce and Cayuse inhabited these lands, hunting, fishing, and performing sacred rituals within the forests and mountains. Certain areas, particularly in the Eagle Cap Wilderness and along the Wallowa River, are considered sacred sites, places of spiritual significance, where the tribes communed with nature and honored ancestral spirits. Folklore passed down through generations suggests that the spirits of these tribes remain, guarding these lands from intrusion and maintaining a connection to the sacred places they once cared for. Some hikers interpret the disembodied voices and shadowy figures as these protective spirits, ensuring that the forest's sanctity is respected. One hiker recounted a chilling encounter along a remote trail near Aneroid Lake. As he paused to adjust his pack, he heard his name whispered clearly from somewhere behind the trees. Turning quickly, he saw a tall, hooded figure standing among the evergreens, its features obscured by shadow. When he called out, the figure vanished, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the distant echo of water trickling down the mountainside. The experience left him shaken, yet also respectful, as if he had glimpsed a guardian of the land, warning him to tread lightly in a place rich with history and spiritual resonance. Other visitors report similar experiences near the Winnehaw River and along alpine ridges. Some describe hearing, chanting, or singing that seems to emanate from nowhere, faint and melodic, yet undeniably human. Others have felt invisible brushes against their shoulders, fleeting touches that vanish as quickly as they occur. While skeptics suggest wind, wildlife, or the mind's imagination as possible explanations, the consistency of these reports across decades and among individuals who have no prior connection suggests something beyond mere coincidence. Even wildlife and natural phenomena contribute to the forest's enigmatic atmosphere. Mist frequently rises from alpine lakes and river valleys, curling among the trees and creating shifting shapes that can resemble human forms. Shadows lengthen quickly as the sun drops behind the mountains, and the interplay of light and terrain can make figures appear where none exist. Yet, for those attuned to the stories of the forest, these visual cues often feel more like messages than illusions, that the wilderness is alive not just with flora and fauna, but with memory and presence. Local guides often caution visitors to approach the forest with respect. The lands were home to generations of Native Americans, many of whom perished or were displaced during the expansion of European settlement. Trespassing on certain areas, disturbing natural features, or acting without awareness is said to provoke the lingering presence of spirits who are protective rather than malicious. Hikers who heed these warnings often report peaceful, almost reverent encounters, sensing the forest's watchfulness but feeling unthreatened. Those who ignore them, however, sometimes describe sudden chills, disorienting experiences, or the unnerving feeling of being followed. Paranormal investigators drawn to Wallowa Whitman National Forest note that its remote nature enhances the intensity of these experiences. With miles of untouched trails and minimal human interference, the forest maintains a timeless quality, preserving energies that may have existed for centuries. Audio recordings capture faint voices and whispers. Photographs sometimes reveal misty, human-like shapes, and nighttime observations often report strange lights moving among the trees. While the scientific community remains cautious, these findings continue to intrigue those seeking a connection to the forest's spiritual past. The Wallowa Whitman National Forest is a place of contrasts. Its alpine lakes shimmer under sunlight, its mountain ridges inspire awe, and its trails challenge the most experienced adventurers. Yet, beneath the natural beauty lies an unseen layer, where history, legend, and the unexplained converge. The disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and inexplicable sensations serve as reminders that the forest is more than a wilderness. It is a sacred landscape, imbued with memory, guardianship, and the presence of those who walked its paths long before the arrival of settlers. For hikers and adventurers willing to tread carefully and respectfully, the forest offers both beauty and mystery. The spirits said to inhabit its depths may not seek to harm, but to remind the living that these lands are ancient, storied, and deserving of reverence. In the Wollowitman National Forest, the natural and the supernatural intertwine, leaving those who wander its trails with memories that linger long after the journey ends. Echoing with whispers of the past and the silent watchfulness of unseen guardians, the Mount Bachelor Wilderness, located in the heart of Central Oregon, is a landscape of rugged beauty and unspoiled wilderness, dominated by the snow-capped peak of Mount Bachelor. The area encompasses volcanic ridges, dense forests of pine and fir, and alpine meadows dotted with wildflowers in the summer months. Its trails attract hikers, skiers, and backpackers seeking adventure, solitude, and a connection to the vastness of nature. By day, the wilderness is vibrant and alive, with the sounds of birds, rushing streams, and the wind weaving through the towering trees. Yet, when the light fades and shadows stretch across the forest floor, the wilderness reveals a more mysterious, unsettling side, one that has been reported by hikers and campers for decades. Many visitors speak of hearing footsteps when they are completely alone. The sound often begins subtly, a faint crunch of leaves or the snap of a twig beneath unseen feet. Some hikers first dismiss it as wildlife, the usual suspects of deer or small mammals moving through the underbrush. But soon, the steps seem to match their own rhythm, falling in time with their pace. When they stop and turn to confront the source, the trail is empty. The noise may circle around them, grow closer, or fade into silence, but the feeling of being followed persists. Campers describe lying awake in their tents at night, hearing these same footsteps approach and retreat repeatedly, accompanied by the unshakable sensation of being watched. Equally chilling are the shadowy figures reported moving among the trees. Hikers have described tall, indistinct shapes gliding between trunks, often disappearing when approached, leaving only the whispering of the wind and the rustle of branches. Some figures appear near ridgelines or along alpine lakes, standing silently before dissolving into the shadows. Witnesses say the figures exude an overwhelming sense of presence, as if aware of the observer but unwilling to engage directly. These sightings are fleeting, yet the impression they leave is lasting, an uneasy awareness that the wilderness is not entirely empty, and that unseen eyes may be observing every step. Local legends suggest that these phenomena are linked to the history of Mount Bachelor Wilderness itself. Long before it became a recreational destination, the area was home to Native American tribes who regarded the mountains, lakes, and forests as sacred. These tribes relied on the land for hunting, fishing, and spiritual practices, believing that the spirits of the land were always present and watching. Some stories claim that the shadowy figures are these guardians, remaining in the wilderness to protect it from intrusion and maintain a connection to the sacred spaces. Those who venture too carelessly may inadvertently disturb these spirits, awakening their presence. There are also tales of early settlers and explorers who ventured into the wilderness and never returned. Some disappeared while attempting to cross remote ridges or traverse deep forest trails. Their bodies were never recovered, and the harsh terrain claimed many more over the years. Hikers speculate that some of the unseen figures and phantom footsteps are the spirits of these lost souls, bound to retrace the paths they attempted in life, forever wandering the wilderness they could not escape. One account describes a solo hiker ascending a narrow trail near the Deschutes River. As he paused to catch his breath, he heard faint footsteps behind him, steady and deliberate. Turning quickly, he saw nothing. Pressing on, he reached a clearing near a small alpine pond and froze. Across the water, a shadowy figure stood at the edge of the forest, unmoving. The hiker blinked, and the figure vanished, leaving only the ripples on the pond's surface. Shaken, he made his way back down the trail, forever convinced he had glimpsed the spirit of a lost traveler or guardian of the wilderness. Photographers and paranormal investigators visiting Mount Bachelor Wilderness have also recorded unusual phenomena. Some have captured orbs of light drifting between trees in long exposure shots, while others report sudden drops in temperature or electrical disturbances when near certain trails or campsites. Audio equipment has picked up faint whispers or indecipherable voices, even when no wind or wildlife could account for them. While skeptics attribute these occurrences to natural elements, environmental factors, or human imagination, those who experience them firsthand insist that something beyond the ordinary inhabits the forest. Even casual hikers sometimes report unexplainable sensations. The feeling of being followed, the sense that someone or something is moving just beyond sight, or the perception of eyes watching from the shadows. In a wilderness as vast as Mount Bachelor, the mind often plays tricks. Yet the consistency and specificity of the reports suggest that there may be more to these stories than mere imagination. Trails that are otherwise empty can suddenly feel alive, resonating with unseen presence, as though history and memory itself have left an imprint on the land. Despite its haunted reputation, Mount Bachelor Wilderness continues to draw adventurers seeking the beauty and challenge of its trails. The towering peak, sparkling alpine lakes, and wildflower-covered meadows offer an unforgettable experience by day. But as evening falls and darkness stretches across the ridges and valleys, the wilderness transforms. The footsteps, shadows, and whispers serve as reminders that the forest is layered with the past, its memories, tragedies, and perhaps spirits of those who never returned. The Mount Bachelor Wilderness is a place of duality, a paradise of natural beauty and a realm of mystery. Its trails invite exploration, yet caution and respect are advised. To venture into its depths is to step into a land where the line between the living and the departed is thin, where every rustle of leaves or flicker of shadow might be a connection to another time, another presence. Whether or not one believes in ghosts, there is no denying the forest's power to inspire awe, reflection, and a profound sense that some mysteries of the wilderness will remain forever unsolved. Ochoco National Forest, located in central Oregon, is a land of contrasts and quiet beauty. Spanning over 850,000 acres, it encompasses rolling high desert hills, dense stands of ponderosa pine, and winding river canyons. The forest draws hikers, hunters, and campers, seeking solitude in its wide-open spaces and shaded groves. By day, it is a place of striking natural diversity. Prairie grasses sway in the wind, birds call from the treetops, and streams sparkle as they carve through rocky terrain. Yet, beneath the serene landscapes and sunlit trails, Ochoco National Forest harbors an air of mystery that has long intrigued locals and visitors alike. Tales of unexplained phenomena, fleeting figures, and whispers in the night hint at a supernatural presence woven into the very fabric of the land. One of the most commonly reported experiences in Ochoco National Forest is the sound of footsteps echoing through the wilderness. Campers have described the unsettling sensation of walking along a trail or sitting quietly by their tents, only to hear the crunch of footsteps approaching from behind. When they turn to investigate, there is no one in sight. The steps seem to follow them, pacing in rhythm with their own movements, only to vanish when confronted. Hikers have shared stories of this happening late at night, when the forest is still, except for the occasional rustle of leaves, leaving them with a chilling sense of being watched by an unseen presence. Equally eerie are the flickering lights that some visitors report seeing in the distance. These lights often appear along trails or across ridgelines, small and lantern-like, moving slowly as if carried by invisible hands. Those who attempt to approach the lights find them just out of reach, vanishing into the trees or across the horizon as if slipping between dimensions. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that these lanterns could be manifestations of spirits from the past early settlers who traversed the forest long before modern trails existed, bound to roam the land they once called home. The forest's history lends weight to these stories. In the 19th century, settlers arrived in Central Oregon, seeking land, resources, and opportunity. Life in the Ochoco region was harsh and unforgiving. Many pioneers faced isolation, harsh winters, and accidents that proved fatal. Some settlers vanished without explanation, leaving cabins abandoned and belongings scattered across the landscape. Over time, locals began to speak of restless spirits wandering the forest, echoing the lives they had once led, lingering in the shadows where the past meets the present. One camper recounted an encounter near the Crooked River, where he had set up his tent for the night. As darkness fell, he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps crunching on dry pine needles, circling his campsite. Heart pounding, he unzipped his tent and shone a flashlight into the clearing. But there was nothing, no animals, no other hikers. Moments later, a faint glow appeared on a ridge across the canyon. The light bobbed gently, as though carried by a figure moving along the trail, before fading into the darkness. The camper later learned of the forest's history of vanished settlers and began to wonder whether the presence he had sensed was more than just imagination. Others have shared similar experiences in remote areas of the forest. Hikers have reported hearing their names called out, whispered softly through the trees, only to find no one nearby. Shadowy figures, sometimes glimpsed at the edge of the tree line, vanish when approached. Photographers have captured strange orbs and glowing shapes in long exposure shots, while audio recordings occasionally pick up faint murmurs or indecipherable voices. Though skeptics attribute these experiences to natural phenomena, illusions of the mind, or wildlife, many who encounter them insist that the forest has a presence that is both palpable and persistent. Even experienced outdoorsmen admit that parts of Ochoko National Forest have an unusual energy. Certain trails and campsites are known for inexplicable chills, sudden drops in temperature, and a pervasive feeling of being observed. Some claim that these sensations are strongest near locations historically associated with early settlers' places where cabins once stood, where travelers vanished, or where pioneers may have struggled to survive harsh winters. The combination of natural beauty and the weight of history seems to amplify the forest's mysterious atmosphere. Local legends often emphasize respect for the land. Stories passed down through generations warn against disturbing old structures, venturing too far from established trails, or mocking the tales of spirits. Those who heed the forest's unspoken rules frequently report peaceful, almost reverent encounters, sensing presence without fear. Those who ignore the advice sometimes describe sudden chills, disorientation, or fleeting shadows that evoke unease. Whether these reactions are spiritual, psychological, or environmental, they contribute to the forest's enduring mystique. Ochoko National Forest continues to draw visitors for its scenic beauty, diverse wildlife, and recreational opportunities. Its trails invite exploration, its river canyons offer adventure, and its forests provide a quiet escape from modern life. Yet, for those attuned to its mysteries, the wilderness is never truly empty. The footsteps that echo without source, the lights that flicker beyond reach, and the shadows that vanish into the trees all hint at lives that preceded us, lingering memories that refuse to fade. In the heart of Central Oregon, Ochoko National Forest exists as a place of contrasts, serene by day, enigmatic by night, welcoming to adventurers, yet charged with an atmosphere that keeps them wary. Its stories of lost settlers, spectral footsteps, and flickering lanterns remind visitors that every trail, every clearing, and every river bend carries echoes of the past. To wander its expanse is to step into a living history, when natural beauty intertwines with the unexplained, leaving those who enter with memories that linger long after they leave, and a sense that some spirits never truly rest. The Fremont-Wanama National Forest, stretching across southern Oregon, is a vast and varied wilderness spanning over 1 million acres. Its landscapes range from high desert plains and volcanic ridges to dense pine and fir forests, dotted with alpine lakes and meandering rivers. The forest is renowned for its biodiversity, offering a home to deer, elk, black bears, and countless bird species, while its volcanic landscapes and ancient lava flows draw geologists and adventurers alike. By day, it is a sanctuary of natural beauty, where sunlight filters through the trees and the air is filled with the scent of pine and sage. Yet beneath this serene exterior, the forest holds a layer of mystery that has fascinated locals and visitors for generations, an unseen presence that seems to watch, guide, and sometimes warn those who venture into its depths. Among the most frequently reported experiences in the Fremont-Wanama National Forest are disembodied voices. Hikers and campers have described the unnerving sensation of hearing their names called from the woods, often echoing from no discernible direction. The voices are rarely loud, more a whisper carried by the wind, yet distinct enough to be unmistakable. Many who have encountered them pause in shock, scanning the surrounding trees, only to find that no one is there. Some report that the voices call out repeatedly, sometimes in urgent tones, other times in what seems like sorrow or warning. These incidents often occur in remote areas, where the silence of the forest is only interrupted by the rustle of leaves or the distant calls of wildlife, making the voices feel all the more real and immediate. Alongside these auditory experiences are sightings of shadowy figures. Hikers have described tall, indistinct forms moving between the trees, disappearing as quickly as they appear. Some figures seem to follow the observer at a distance, keeping pace along the trails or across meadows, vanishing when approached. Others appear to be stationary, standing silently at the edge of a clearing, watching with an unseen awareness. These figures evoke a mixture of fear and reverence, as though the forest itself is alive with guardianship, ensuring that the sacredness of the land is respected. Many believe that these mysterious occurrences are tied to the region's deep Native American history. Long before settlers arrived, the lands of the Fremont-Winema National Forest were home to tribes such as the Klamath, Modoc, and Paiute. These tribes considered the forest, lakes, and rivers sacred, using the land for hunting, gathering, spiritual rituals, and storytelling. Certain areas, including volcanic ridges, high meadows, and the shores of remote lakes, were seen as sacred grounds where the spirits of ancestors lingered. Folklore passed down through generations suggests that these spirits continue to inhabit the forest, not in malevolence, but as vigilant guardians, ensuring that their sacred spaces are respected and preserved. One hiker recounted an encounter near a secluded lake in the heart of the forest. While setting up camp, he heard his name whispered softly on the wind. Turning quickly, he saw a tall shadow gliding silently between the trees, disappearing as he tried to approach. Later that evening, he noticed a faint light flickering across the water, moving as if carried by someone walking along the far shore. Terrified but captivated, he felt a profound connection to the land, as though he had witnessed a glimpse of the forest's ancient guardians, watching and guiding from the shadows. Other visitors report hearing voices accompanied by sudden shifts in temperature, chills that descend without warning, or a pressing sense of being observed. Photographers have captured unexplained light anomalies in long exposure shots, while audio equipment has recorded faint whispers or murmurs when no one was nearby. While skeptics argue these events can be explained by wind, wildlife, or imagination, the consistency of reports over decades suggests that the Fremont-Winema National Forest harbors a presence beyond the ordinary. Even experienced outdoor enthusiasts acknowledge the forest's unique energy. Hunters and hikers familiar with the trails often describe areas that feel charged or different, where the forest seems alive in a way that goes beyond natural beauty. Some report trails that loop back on themselves in disorienting ways, or paths where the shadows lengthen unnaturally. These experiences are often strongest in areas historically associated with Native American activity or near ancient volcanic formations, reinforcing the idea that the land itself holds the memories and spirits of those who once inhabited it. The forest's dual nature, breathtaking beauty by day, mystery and unease by night draws visitors seeking both adventure and reflection. The trails wind through a living landscape shaped over millennia, where wildlife, geology, and human history intersect. Yet as darkness falls and the forest grows quiet, the whispers and shadowy forms remind travelers that this wilderness is not entirely empty. It is a place where the past persists, where spirits of Native American tribes and early inhabitants continued to linger, guarding sacred lands and silently reminding the living of the history etched into every tree, rock, and stream. For those who explore the Fremont-Winema National Forest, the experiences are both humbling and awe-inspiring. To walk its trails is to enter a living history, where the echoes of the past intertwine with the present, and the land itself seems aware of every footstep, whether through disembodied voices calling a name, flickering lights across distant meadows, or shadowy figures slipping between trees. The forest communicates a message of reverence and caution. It is a wilderness that demands respect, not only for its natural beauty, but also for the spirits and stories that continue to inhabit it. Fremont-Winema National Forest remains a place of contrasts, wild and serene, welcoming and mysterious, tangible yet enigmatic. Its forests, rivers, and volcanic landscapes draw visitors from near and far. But those who tread its trails carry with them an awareness that the land is more than what meets the eye. Beneath its beauty lies an enduring presence, a reminder that some spirits never truly leave, and that the stories of the past remained alive, whispered through the trees, and watched over by unseen guardians. The Mount Thielsen Wilderness, located in southern Oregon, is a rugged expanse of volcanic peaks, dense forests, and alpine meadows, dominated by the jagged summit of Mount Thielsen, known as the lightning rod of the Cascades for its sharply pointed peak. The wilderness offers challenging terrain that attracts hikers, climbers, and backcountry adventurers. Trails wind through dense stands of Douglas fir lodgepole, pine, and hemlock, past crystal-clear alpine lakes, and over rocky ridges that provide sweeping views of the surrounding Cascade Range. By day, the wilderness is a haven of natural beauty, alive with the calls of birds, the rustling of wildlife, and the whispering wind through the trees. Yet beneath this scenic exterior lies a layer of mystery and unease, a hidden side of the wilderness that has long been whispered about by locals and visitors alike. One of the most commonly reported experiences in the Mount Thielsen Wilderness is the sensation of being followed. Hikers frequently describe hearing footsteps behind them on trails, echoing the crunch of their own boots on pine needles and gravel. At first, these sounds may seem to belong to a fellow hiker or a passing animal, but when the person stops and turns to investigate, the trail is empty. The footsteps sometimes fall in rhythm with the hiker's pace, quickening or slowing as they do, only to vanish entirely when confronted. Campers have also reported the phenomenon at night, hearing footsteps circling their tents in the darkness, accompanied by an unsettling feeling of being observed by an unseen presence. Equally unsettling are the shadowy figures that have been spotted moving through the forest. These forms often appear briefly between the trees, gliding silently through clearings or along ridgelines before disappearing as quickly as they appeared. Some witnesses describe the figures as tall and human-like, while others perceive them as more amorphous, dark shapes that seem to absorb the light around them. Many who have seen these figures report a sensation of weight or presence, as though the wilderness itself is aware of their intrusion. The sightings are fleeting, yet the impressions they leave behind are profound, creating a lasting sense of unease and respect for the land. Local legends suggest that these experiences are connected to the history of Mount Thielsen Wilderness. Long before modern trails and recreational campsites, the area was traversed by Native American tribes who regarded the mountains, lakes, and forests as sacred. The Klamath and Modoc peoples, among others, hunted, gathered, and performed spiritual ceremonies within these lands. Certain ridges, meadows, and lakes were considered sacred sites, places where the spirits of ancestors remained. Folklore, passed down over generations, speaks of protective spirits who continue to roam the wilderness, guiding or warning those who enter, ensuring that the sacredness of the land is preserved. There are also stories of early explorers, trappers, and settlers who ventured into the wilderness and never returned. The jagged peaks, sudden weather changes, and dense forests claimed many lives, leaving behind trails of mystery and tragedy. Hikers who traverse these remote areas sometimes sense a presence, tracing the paths of those long lost, as if the wilderness itself preserves their memory. Shadowy forms glimpsed in the distance and footsteps that echo in solitude may be remnants of these restless spirits, eternally wandering the forests and ridges they once sought to explore. One hiker recounted a chilling experience near a high alpine lake. As he paused to rest and admire the reflections in the water, he heard a series of footsteps approaching from the tree line behind him. Turning quickly, he saw nothing, yet the sound continued, moving closer and then fading, as though someone had walked past him, unseen. Moments later, a dark figure appeared along the far edge of the clearing, standing motionless before dissolving into the forest. The hiker left the area with a mix of fear and awe, convinced he had glimpsed the lingering presence of the wilderness itself, or perhaps a spirit from the past watching over the land. Others have described sudden drops in temperature in isolated areas of the wilderness, a tangible chill that seems to accompany the appearance of shadowy forms or the echo of disembodied footsteps, while skeptics often point to wind, wildlife, or imagination as explanations. The consistency of these accounts over time suggests that Mount Thielsen Wilderness holds an air of mystery that cannot be easily dismissed. Even seasoned outdoorsmen acknowledge the forest's strange energy. Trails that are otherwise familiar can suddenly feel disorienting or alive with unseen activity. The shadows lengthen, the wind carries strange sounds, and the forest can seem both inviting and threatening at once. Many hikers who experience these phenomena report leaving with a heightened respect for the wilderness and its history, aware that the land has stories and presences that extend far beyond the visible landscape. Mount Thielsen Wilderness continues to draw adventurers seeking both beauty and challenge. Its alpine lakes shimmer in sunlight, jagged peaks rise dramatically against the sky, and meadows bloom with vibrant wildflowers in the warmer months. Yet as night falls or in the stillness of remote trails, the wilderness transforms. Footsteps echo in the silence, shadows glide among the trees, and the sense of being observed serves as a reminder that the land is not empty. The wilderness exists in a state of duality, breathtaking natural splendor by day, a realm of mystery and lingering presence by night. The footprints that vanish on the trail, the fleeting figures glimpsed among the trees, and the whispers carried by the wind all hint at a history that refuses to be forgotten. Mount Thielsen Wilderness is a place where past and present converge, where nature and the unexplained coexist, and where those who enter its depths may encounter the echoes of spirits who never left. To wander here is to step into a living story, one written by both the land and the souls it holds, leaving visitors with a profound sense of awe, respect, and lingering wonder. Tillamook State Forest, located in western Oregon, is a vast expanse of towering pines, moss-covered trails, and mist-shrouded valleys, stretching over 100,000 acres. The forest draws hikers, campers, and outdoor enthusiasts seeking solitude and the quiet majesty of the Pacific Northwest. By day, the forest is alive with the sound of wind rustling through the evergreens, birds calling to one another across the canopy, and the occasional splash of a creek tumbling over rocks. Trails wind along steep ridges and through fern-filled clearings, offering glimpses of sunlight breaking through the dense foliage. Yet beneath this natural beauty lies a more mysterious side, one that has haunted travelers for generations. Tales of unexplained sounds, fleeting figures, and vanished hikers have created an enduring legend that Tillamook State Forest is a place where the past refuses to stay buried. Among the most frequently reported phenomena in Tillamook State Forest are the sounds of footsteps echoing through empty clearings and along isolated trails. Hikers have described walking for hours in complete solitude, only to hear the unmistakable crunch of boots on leaves or the soft patter of someone following them. When they pause and turn, the forest is silent. The footsteps sometimes keep pace with the hiker, mirroring their movements, then abruptly stop or vanish entirely. Campers have also reported similar experiences at night, hearing the soft tread of steps around their tents, accompanied by the feeling of being watched by an unseen presence. These sounds are often unnerving, a reminder that the forest is alive not only with wildlife but with something more intangible. Equally unsettling are the conversations that some visitors claim to hear, faint whispers carried on the wind. Voices seem to speak in hurried tones, as if navigating the trails or searching for something or someone. Often, the words are unintelligible, muffled by distance or the rustling of leaves, but the sensation of human presence is unmistakable. Hikers have reported pausing mid-trail, straining to catch the source, only to find themselves alone in the clearing. These ghostly murmurs are sometimes accompanied by a sudden chill, an inexplicable drop in temperature that adds to the forest's eerie atmosphere. Local legend suggests that these mysterious sounds may be echoes of the early pioneers who settled Oregon's rugged interior. In the 1800s, settlers traversed the dense forests and mountainous terrain, carving paths and homesteads in a land that was both beautiful and unforgiving. Many pioneers never reached their destinations, lost to accidents, exposure, or illness. Others disappeared without explanation, their stories fading into history. Over time, the notion developed that their spirits remain, retracing the routes they once took, eternally searching for the homes and communities that were never to be. For hikers and campers, the footsteps and whispers are believed to be these lingering presences, caught between the living and the afterlife. One hiker recounted an unnerving encounter along a remote ridge trail. As she paused to admire a misty valley, she heard the crunch of leaves behind her. Turning, she saw no one, yet the sound persisted, moving closer before fading into silence. Moments later, she heard faint murmuring, almost as if a small group were speaking just beyond the tree line. The voices were indistinct, broken by the wind and the rustle of branches, but they were unmistakably human. Terrified, yet fascinated, she left the trail with a new awareness of the forest, feeling as though she had glimpsed a fragment of its hidden history and the people who had once moved through it. Others have described seeing fleeting shadows among the trees. These forms often appear at the edge of their vision, standing motionless before dissolving into the forest. Some hikers report glimpsing figures moving along distant ridges or through dense underbrush, vanishing when approached. While many sightings can be attributed to tricks of light and shadow, the consistency of reports and the palpable feeling of presence suggests something beyond ordinary explanation. Those who have walked the forest trails for decades speak of an energy in certain areas, a sense that the land remembers those who once treaded upon it and continues to honor their memory in subtle, haunting ways. Photographers and paranormal enthusiasts visiting Tillamook State Forest have recorded unusual occurrences as well. Long exposure photos occasionally reveal faint orbs of light drifting among trees, while audio recordings capture whispers and faint calls when no human presence is nearby. Some investigators theorize that the forest's dense canopy, its rugged terrain, and its isolation create conditions that amplify residual energies, preserving echoes of the past for those sensitive enough to perceive them. Others simply see it as a place where history lingers, where the memory of human struggle and tragedy refuses to fade entirely. Even seasoned hikers acknowledge that certain areas of Tillamook State Forest carry a unique energy. Trails that appear familiar may suddenly feel disorienting or charged with a presence. Clearings and ridges that seem serene during the day can take on an otherworldly quality as dusk approaches. The sounds of the forest blending with whispers of the past. Many visitors describe leaving the forest with a sense of reverence, a reminder that they have stepped into a landscape layered not only with trees and rivers, but with human history, memory, and unseen watchers. Tillamook State Forest continues to attract those seeking both adventure and mystery. Its towering pines, misty valleys, and flowing creeks offer breathtaking scenery and challenging trails. Yet as night falls, or in the solitude of remote paths, the forest reminds visitors that it is more than a natural sanctuary. The footsteps echoing in the clearings, the voices carried on the wind, and the shadowy figures glimpsed among the trees all suggest a land where the past lingers, and where the spirits of those who never found home continue their eternal search. In the heart of Oregon, Tillamook State Forest exists as a place of contrasts, serene and rugged, beautiful and haunting, familiar yet mysterious. It is a forest where history breathes quietly among the trees, where the echoes of lost pioneers resonate through misty valleys, and where those who wander its trails may feel the weight of a past that refuses to be forgotten. For those who venture here, the experience is more than a hike. It is an encounter with the lingering spirits of a bygone era, a reminder that some stories never truly end. Cascade Head Preserve, perched along the dramatic Oregon coast, is a place where the land meets the ocean in stark beauty. Rugged cliffs plunge into the roaring Pacific, while dense stands of evergreens, including Sitka, spruce, and Douglas fir, stretch inland, covering rolling hills and narrow valleys. Its network of trails weaves through coastal meadows, salt-sprayed ridges, and moss-laden forests, drawing hikers, birdwatchers, and photographers who seek both solitude and stunning vistas. By day, the preserve is alive with the scent of sea air, the cry of seabirds, and the constant murmur of waves below. Yet beneath this serene exterior lies an eerie side, a quiet and persistent mystery that has captivated locals and visitors for generations. The whispers of the past seem to linger among the trees, carried by ocean winds and etched into the rocky cliffs. One of the most commonly reported phenomena in Cascade Head Preserve is the sound of whispering voices. Hikers often describe the sensation of walking through dense forested trails, when faint murmurs reach their ears, as though someone is speaking just out of sight. The voices are rarely clear, often fragmented or soft, carried on gusts of wind that ripple through the trees. Sometimes the whispers seem urgent, other times sorrowful, leaving those who hear them with a profound sense of presence. When hikers pause to investigate, they find no one along the path or in the surrounding undergrowth. These auditory experiences are heightened by the isolation of the preserve, where the sounds of modern life rarely intrude, making the whispers feel immediate, intimate, and otherworldly. Accompanying these sounds are reports of fleeting shadows glimpsed among the evergreens. Visitors describe catching glimpses of dark, human-like forms moving between the trees, vanishing when approached, as though aware of being observed. On ridgelines or near cliff edges, some hikers have seen figures standing momentarily before dissolving into mist or shadow. These sightings are often brief, but leave a lasting impression, a chilling awareness that the preserve is not entirely empty, and that its history may still walk among the living. Local lore suggests that these experiences are tied to the preserve's human history. Before the area was set aside for conservation, settlers, travelers, and trappers moved through the rugged terrain. The cliffs, thick forests, and unpredictable weather posed significant dangers, and many who ventured here never returned. Stories passed down through generations speak of early settlers who perished on the cliffs, travelers lost in dense fog, and others claimed by the forest's remote trails. Some locals believe that the whispers and shadows are the lingering presences of these lost souls, eternally wandering the forest's edges and cliffs, retracing paths they could not complete in life. One hiker recounted a particularly unnerving encounter while exploring a trail near the preserve's coastal ridges. As she paused to take in the ocean view, she heard faint murmuring from the trees behind her, a conversation that seemed to come from no one in particular. She turned to investigate and caught sight of a shadow gliding silently between the trunks, disappearing before she could approach. Moments later, a sudden gust of wind carried a low, indistinct whisper across the ridge, sending shivers down her spine. She described the experience as both terrifying and mesmerizing, a reminder that she was not alone in the preserve, and that the forest itself held memories of those who had walked there before her. Other visitors have shared similar experiences along inland trails. Some report sudden temperature drops, a tangible chill that descends even on warm days, often accompanying the appearance of shadows or the whispering voices. Photographers have occasionally captured unexplained light anomalies or faint figures in long exposure shots, while audio recordings have picked up whispers when no one else was present. Skeptics may attribute these phenomena to wind, wildlife, or imagination. Yet the consistency and specificity of reports suggest that Cascade Head Preserve carries an energy that is difficult to explain. Even longtime hikers and locals acknowledge that certain areas of the preserve feel different from the rest. Trails that are familiar by day may suddenly feel disorienting or alive with unseen activity. Clearings and cliff edges that seem serene take on a more intense, almost palpable presence as dusk approaches. Many who venture into these sections describe leaving with a mix of awe and unease, an awareness that the land holds stories and presences that extend far beyond the visible landscape. The preserve's combination of natural beauty and unexplained phenomena gives it a unique atmosphere. Its towering cliffs, forested hills, and sweeping ocean views are breathtaking, yet they coexist with an enduring sense of mystery. The whispers, fleeting shadows, and sudden chills remind visitors that Cascade Head Preserve is not just a sanctuary for wildlife and plants, but also a place where human history, tragedy, and memory continue to linger. For those who explore its trails, the preserve offers both adventure and reflection. The voices and shadows are not malevolent, but they serve as a reminder that the land carries stories of those who lived, worked, and perished here, and of travelers who vanished in the wild, leaving behind only echoes. These presences, whether interpreted as spirits or the lingering energy of human history, create an experience that is both haunting and deeply moving. Cascade Head Preserve exists as a place of duality, breathtaking natural beauty and subtle haunting, solitude and vigilance, serenity and the uncanny. It invites visitors to witness the majesty of Oregon's coastline, while remaining mindful of the land's hidden stories. The forested trails, misty cliffs, and ocean winds serve as both a playground for the living and a stage for the echoes of the past. Here, the spirits of early settlers and travelers are said to walk alongside those who venture into the preserve, a reminder that some lives and some stories never truly fade. Drift Creek Wilderness, nestled in the heart of Lincoln County, along Oregon's rugged coast, is a remote expanse of dense forests, steep ridges, and winding creeks. Covering tens of thousands of acres, the wilderness offers a sanctuary for hikers, backpackers, and nature enthusiasts seeking solitude far from the noise of civilization. Towering Douglas firs, western hemlocks, and moss-draped cedars dominate the landscape, while streams and creeks carve paths through deep valleys, their waters glinting in the filtered sunlight. By day, the forest is alive with the sounds of birdsong, the splash of water over rocks, and the occasional rustle of deer or elk moving through the undergrowth. Yet beneath this serene surface lies a layer of mystery and unease, a subtle presence that has intrigued visitors for generations. Many who venture into Drift Creek Wilderness report experiences that defy easy explanation. One of the most commonly cited phenomena is the sudden sensation of cold spots. Hikers describe walking along sunlit trails only to be chilled by a cold draft that seems to have no origin. These drops in temperature are often brief but intense, leaving a lingering sense of discomfort. Campers have recounted feeling icy currents pass through their tents at night, even when the outside air remains calm and mild. The sudden chills are accompanied in some cases by the faint sound of rustling in the underbrush, as if unseen footsteps are moving just beyond sight. The combination of temperature shifts and untraceable sounds contributes to the wilderness's reputation as a place where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural is thin. Shadowy figures are another recurring element in Drift Creek's lore. Visitors frequently describe glimpsing dark, humanoid shapes moving among the trees or along ridgelines. These figures appear briefly at the edge of vision and vanish when approached, leaving no trace behind. Some hikers report a feeling of being followed, the sense of eyes tracking them as they navigate narrow trails or cross creeks. The shapes are often silent, yet their presence is palpable, evoking a mixture of fear and fascination. Photographers have occasionally captured unexplained silhouettes in long exposure shots, while audio equipment has recorded faint, unintelligible murmurs that cannot be attributed to wind or wildlife. Local legends suggest that these experiences may be linked to the area's history. Drift Creek Wilderness was once frequented by loggers, trappers, and early settlers, many of whom worked and lived in challenging conditions. Accidents, exposure, and the harsh terrain claimed lives, leaving behind stories of men and women who vanished without a trace. Over time, locals began to whisper that the spirits of these lost pioneers and loggers remained in the forest, moving along trails they once traveled, observing newcomers, and guarding the secrets of the land. Some accounts even describe figures appearing near old logging roads or abandoned campsites, as if retracing the paths of their former lives. One hiker recounted a particularly unsettling encounter while exploring a remote section near Drift Creek itself. As he paused on a ridge to admire the forest canopy and the glint of the creek below, he felt a sudden, icy draft sweep across the clearing. Then, from the dense underbrush, he heard the unmistakable crunch of footsteps approaching. Spinning around, He saw nothing but shadows among the trees. Yet the steps continued, moving closer before fading into silence. Moments later, a dark figure appeared at the edge of the clearing, standing motionless before vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. The hiker described the experience as both terrifying and humbling, a vivid reminder that the wilderness holds stories older than any trail map. Others have reported similar encounters, particularly near abandoned logging paths or the remnants of old campsites. Some hikers claim that the forest seems to respond to their presence, with shadows lengthening unnaturally and whispers rising in the wind. Audio recordings have sometimes picked up faint murmurs or indistinct voices, reinforcing the impression that Drift Creek Wilderness is not entirely empty. While skeptics attribute these phenomena to imagination, echoes, or natural sounds, the consistency of the accounts over decades suggests that the forest holds an enduring mystery. Even those familiar with the area acknowledge that certain parts of Drift Creek carry a unique energy. Trails that are otherwise straightforward can feel disorienting, with landmarks appearing to shift subtly. Clearings that seem peaceful during the day can take on an oppressive quality as dusk approaches, and the forest itself seems alive with unseen watchers. Many visitors leave with a heightened sense of respect for the wilderness, aware that it is a place layered with memory, tragedy, and lingering presence. Despite its eerie reputation, Drift Creek Wilderness remains a destination for those seeking both adventure and introspection. Its mossy forests, rushing streams, and rugged ridges offer unparalleled beauty and challenge. Yet for those attuned to the subtle signs, the wilderness is also a place of lingering spirits and unresolved history. The cold spots, rustling underbrush, and shadowy figures serve as reminders that the land holds memories, preserving the presence of those who came before. Drift Creek Wilderness exists as a place of contrasts, serene and untamed, beautiful and unsettling, tangible yet intangible. It is a wilderness where history, memory, and mystery coexist, and where the footsteps of long-lost loggers, pioneers, and travelers may still echo through the trees. Those who venture here walk not only among the living forest, but also through the shadows of the past. A place where the line between what is seen and what is sensed remains forever blurred. Opal Creek Wilderness, nestled in the western Cascades of Oregon, is a land of remarkable beauty and ancient serenity, encompassing old-growth forests, moss-draped trees, and crystal-clear streams. The wilderness spans tens of thousands of acres, offering hikers, campers, and nature enthusiasts an escape into pristine landscapes largely untouched by modern development. Towering Douglas firs and western red cedars dominate the canopy, their massive trunks covered in thick mosses and ferns, while the waterways glisten with the reflection of the sky above. The area's winding trails, cascading waterfalls, and hidden meadows draw visitors from across the state, all seeking to experience the tranquility of this remarkable forest. Yet beneath its peaceful exterior, Opal Creek carries an aura of mystery, an underlying presence that has intrigued and unsettled visitors for generations. One of the most frequently reported phenomena in Opal Creek Wilderness is the sound of disembodied footsteps. Hikers often describe walking along seemingly empty trails, only to hear the unmistakable crunch of boots on leaves or pine needles behind them. When they stop and turn to look, there is nothing, no other hiker, no animal, nothing but the shadows of the forest. These footsteps sometimes follow for minutes at a distance, matching the pace of the observer, then vanish without warning. Campers have recounted hearing similar sounds at night, circling tents or moving along the banks of streams, accompanied by a chilling sensation of being watched. The forest, while visually serene, seems to hold its own consciousness, responding subtly to human presence. Alongside the footsteps, visitors often report hearing distant laughter, sometimes soft and playful, other times hollow and haunting. This laughter seems to drift along the wind, echoing through the trees in a way that is at once fleeting and intimate. Some hikers have described pausing mid-trail, straining to locate its source, only to find the forest empty. The sound is often accompanied by a sudden stillness. Birds quiet, streams seem to soften, and the rustling of the underbrush fades. These auditory phenomena leave a lingering impression on those who hear them, a sense that the wilderness itself is alive with unseen observers. Glowing orbs are another mysterious element associated with Opal Creek. Visitors have reported seeing small, pale lights drifting between the trees, hovering near creek banks, or floating along ridge lines. These orbs appear for only moments, disappearing when approached or examined closely, leaving behind a faint shimmer that fades into the surrounding forest. Photographers have occasionally captured these lights on long exposure shots, while audio recorders have recorded faint, indecipherable murmurs when no one else was present. Though skeptics attribute the lights to insects, reflections, or natural luminescence, the consistency of reports over decades suggests that Opal Creek holds something beyond ordinary explanation. Local legends provide context for these strange experiences. Long before Opal Creek was protected as a wilderness area, Native American tribes inhabited and traversed the region. The Santiam, Molala, and other tribes considered the forest sacred, using its streams and meadows for sustenance, spiritual rituals, and storytelling. Certain areas, particularly around old-growth trees and waterfalls, were thought to be places of power, where the spirits of ancestors lingered to guard the land. According to oral histories, these spirits act as protectors, appearing to those who tread too heavily, reminding humans to respect the sanctity of the forest. The footsteps, laughter, and glowing orbs reported by modern visitors may be interpreted as these protective presences, subtly guiding behavior and maintaining the balance of the wilderness. One hiker recounted an encounter near a secluded waterfall in the heart of Opal Creek. As he paused to photograph the cascading water, he heard soft laughter echoing from the trees above. Moments later, he noticed a faint glow drifting among the branches, moving gently as though floating on its own volition. The light vanished when he tried to approach, leaving only the dim reflection on the wet rocks. Simultaneously, he felt the unmistakable impression of being observed, a presence that was neither threatening nor malevolent, but deeply aware. The hiker left the area with a profound respect for the wilderness, convinced that he had witnessed a glimpse of the spirits guarding the land. Others have reported similar experiences while hiking remote trails or camping near creeks. The forest often conveys a sense of sentience, as if responding to footsteps, voices, and intentions. Certain areas, particularly those near ancient trees or pristine streams, carry a heightened energy where the sounds and lights are most commonly observed. Visitors describe leaving these areas with a mixture of awe, reverence, and unease, a recognition that the land is more than just trees and water. It is a living, breathing archive of human and natural history. Even seasoned forest guides acknowledge Opal Creek's unusual presence. Longtime hikers note that some trails feel different from day to day. A familiar route may seem disorienting, or the air may carry an unusual stillness. Clearings that appear peaceful during midday can become charged with subtle energy as dusk approaches. Many who spend extended time in the wilderness report a deepening awareness that their actions are being silently observed, encouraging respect and mindfulness. Opal Creek Wilderness offers a unique blend of natural splendor and subtle mystery. Its crystal-clear streams, towering old-growth trees, and lush understory make it a paradise for outdoor enthusiasts. Yet, the footsteps that echo along empty trails, the laughter carried by the wind, and the drifting glowing orbs remind visitors that the forest is more than just a collection of landscapes. It is a place where spirits, memory, and nature intertwine, guiding, protecting, and watching those who enter. For those who venture into Opal Creek, the experience is transformative. The forest demands reverence, not through fear, but through the awareness that it preserves ancient stories and unseen guardians. Here, every step, every sound, and every fleeting light serves as a reminder that humans are only temporary visitors, while the forest and its spirits endure. In Opal Creek Wilderness, beauty and mystery exist side by side, a delicate balance maintained by the guardians of the land, ensuring that those who walk its trails do so with care and respect. Silver Falls State Park, renowned for its cascading waterfalls and lush trails, conceals a quieter, more ominous corner within its old-growth area. Beyond the roaring waters and popular viewpoints lies a stretch of forest where time seems to slow, and the atmosphere grows thick with a sense of foreboding. Towering Douglas firs, western hemlocks, and ancient cedar trees dominate the canopy, their moss-covered trunks and sprawling roots creating an almost cathedral-like environment. Ferns blanket the forest floor, and streams meander through shadowed clearings, reflecting shafts of sunlight that filter through the dense foliage. While the main trails attract thousands of visitors annually, the old-growth area is a place of solitude, drawing those who seek the serenity of untouched wilderness soar, according to legend, a brush with the supernatural. Visitors to the old-growth section often report unsettling phenomena that defy explanation. One of the most common experiences involves sightings of phantom figures appearing in the mist that rises from the forest floor or the nearby streams. These figures are usually human in shape, though vague and shadowy, standing or moving quietly among the trees. Witnesses describe the apparitions as fleeting glimpsed from the corner of the eye or disappearing as they approach, but the presence they leave behind lingers long after the figure is gone. Some have reported seeing figures dressed in clothing reminiscent of the 19th century, adding weight to the theory that these are echoes of early settlers who once traversed the land around Silver Falls. Alongside these visual phenomena, hikers often report faint, disembodied voices. These whispers are usually soft, carried on the wind that flows through the forest, and often seem to come from multiple directions at once. Some describe the voices as warning or urgent, as though the forest itself is attempting to communicate a message to those who enter. In certain areas, the whispers rise and fall in intensity, accompanying sudden chills or a sense of weight pressing upon the chest. Many visitors pause in awe or trepidation, searching for a source only to find empty clearings and undisturbed foliage. The combination of whispers and shadows contributes to the old-growth area's reputation as a place where the line between the living and the departed is thin. Local lore ties these experiences to the tragic history of the Silver Falls region. In the 1800s, settlers traveled through the dense forests surrounding the falls, establishing homesteads and logging operations while navigating the rugged terrain. Accidents were common, and many travelers and laborers perished due to falls, sudden floods, or exposure. Over time, stories circulated that the spirits of those who died near the falls lingered, bound to the forest by unresolved business or the sheer trauma of their final moments. The phantom figures and whispering voices reported today are often interpreted as these restless presences, appearing to remind visitors of the lives once lived in, lost within the forest. One hiker recounted a chilling experience along a quiet trail in the old-growth section. As he paused to rest near a fern-covered clearing, mist rolled in from a nearby stream, and he noticed a shadowy figure standing just beyond the trees. The figure remained motionless for several moments before slowly vanishing into the fog. Immediately afterward, he heard a faint whisper carried on the wind, as though someone were urging him to leave the area. Although terrified, he felt a profound connection to the forest, sensing that he had witnessed a fragment of its enduring history and the lingering spirits tied to it. Others report more subtle, yet equally disquieting experiences. Sudden drops in temperature, the feeling of being watched, and unexplained rustling in the underbrush are all common occurrences in the old-growth area. Photographers sometimes capture strange orbs of light drifting through mist-laden clearings, and audio recordings occasionally pick up faint murmurs when no other humans are present. Skeptics attribute these events to environmental factors, the wind, wildlife, or optical illusions, but the consistency of reports across decades and among independent witnesses suggests that there may be more to the old-growth forest than meets the eye. Even seasoned hikers recognize the old-growth area's unique atmosphere. Trails that seem familiar can feel disorienting as mist rolls through the trees, and the air itself can carry a weight or stillness unlike other parts of the park. Clearings, streams, and moss-covered slopes seem alive with unseen presence, a subtle energy that can inspire awe, caution, or unease. Many who spend extended time exploring the old-growth area describe a deepening respect for both the forest and its history, an awareness that the land is layered with human experience as well as natural beauty. Silver Falls, old growth area, exists in a state of duality. On one hand, it is breathtakingly beautiful, a sanctuary of towering trees, tranquil streams, and misty light. On the other, it is a place steeped in the echoes of tragedy, where phantom figures, whispering voices, and sudden chills hint at lives that ended too soon. The forest demands reverence, not merely for its natural splendor, but for the spirits it preserves. Those who traversed the land long before trails were marked and visitors arrived. For hikers and campers, the old-growth area is a reminder that wilderness carries memory. Every footstep along its shaded trails, every glance into a misty clearing, and every rustle of foliage is a brush with history and perhaps the supernatural. The phantom figures and whispers are subtle yet persistent signals that the land itself remembers. They are guardians of a past steeped in human toil and tragedy, ensuring that those who enter carry respect, awareness, and humility. Silver Falls old-growth area remains a place where natural beauty and lingering mystery coexist. It is a landscape of shadow and light, of roaring waterfalls and whispered voices, of life and echoes of lives past. To walk its trails is to step into a living history where the present, the old-growth forest, teaches that beauty and sorrow are often intertwined, and that some stories, like the spirits of Silver Falls, are never truly gone. Table Rock Wilderness, located in southwestern Oregon, is a rugged expanse of rocky cliffs, dense forests, and isolated trails. Its towering sandstone escarpments rise dramatically above the surrounding valleys, providing breathtaking vistas for hikers and adventurers. Trails wind through thick stands of Douglas fir, madrona, and oak, navigating steep inclines, narrow ridges, and winding canyons. By day, the wilderness is alive with the sounds of rustling leaves, the distant calls of hawks circling above, and the occasional trickle of water through hidden streams. Yet, beneath this outward beauty lies a layer of mystery and unease. Visitors have long reported experiences that suggest Table Rock is more than just a scenic destination. It is a place where the past lingers, and the forest seems alive with unseen presences. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are shadowy forms glimpsed atop cliffs or among the trees. Hikers describe seeing dark, humanoid shapes standing or moving along ridgelines, sometimes frozen in place, other times gliding silently out of sight. These figures appear fleetingly, often at the edge of vision, vanishing the moment one focuses on them directly. The encounters leave an indelible impression on those who witness them, a subtle but persistent feeling that the wilderness is aware of their presence. Some visitors have reported seeing figures dressed in clothing reminiscent of early settlers, suggesting a lingering connection to the area. Human history and the many accidents and misadventures that occurred among the cliffs and rocky trails. In addition to these shadowy forms, hikers frequently report the sensation of invisible hands brushing past them or gently tugging at clothing or gear. This feeling is fleeting, yet unmistakable, often occurring along narrow trails or cliff edges where the terrain is most precarious. The sensation is accompanied by an acute awareness of danger, as though the wilderness itself is reminding intruders to respect the land. Campers have also described similar touches at night, sometimes paired with the sound of stones scraping along rock surfaces, as if someone or something is traversing the cliffs unseen. The combination of tactile and auditory phenomena heightens the sense that Table Rock is inhabited not only by wildlife, but by lingering presences, observing and interacting with visitors in subtle ways. Local legend provides context for these experiences. Table Rock's cliffs have claimed many lives over the years, from explorers and settlers to hikers who misjudged the treacherous terrain. Stories passed down through generations speak of individuals who fell from the escarpments, their lives ending abruptly in the jagged rocks below. Some believe that the spirits of these lost souls remain, eternally retracing the steps that led to their deaths. The shadowy figures, the invisible touches, and the scraping sounds are often interpreted as manifestations of these restless spirits. replaying the final moments of their lives or warning the living to exercise caution. One hiker recounted a particularly unsettling encounter along a narrow ridge trail. As he navigated a section lined with loose rock, he felt a sudden brush against his shoulder, as if someone had reached past him. Spinning around, he saw nothing. Yet he heard the unmistakable sound of stone scraping against stone just ahead. Following his path, moments later, a dark figure appeared atop a cliff, its shape human but featureless, standing motionless before dissolving into the mist that had settled over the wilderness. The hiker described the experience as terrifying yet awe-inspiring, a vivid reminder that the land preserves memories that extend far beyond the present moment. Others have reported similar encounters, particularly near cliff edges and isolated trails. Shadowy forms have been seen disappearing into canyons. Footsteps echo in the stillness of the forest, and inexplicable chills accompany the presence of the unseen. Photographers have captured faint silhouettes in long exposure shots, and audio recordings have occasionally picked up the scraping of stone or distant, unidentifiable sounds when no one else was present. While skeptics suggest natural explanations, wind, shadows, wildlife, the consistency and specificity of these reports suggests that Table Rock carries a lingering presence tied to its tragic past. Even experienced hikers acknowledge that certain areas of Table Rock feel distinct from the surrounding wilderness. Trails that are familiar can suddenly feel disorienting, and cliffs that seem safe by day can appear menacing in the shifting light of dusk. Clearings and ridges that are normally serene can take on a charged atmosphere, as though the forest itself is watching. Many visitors leave with a profound sense of reverence for the land, understanding that it is layered with both natural beauty and human history, a place where the past refuses to fade. Table Rock Wilderness exists in a state of duality. Its rugged cliffs, dense forests, and panoramic views offer extraordinary natural splendor. Yet, the wilderness is haunted by echoes of tragedy. Shadowy figures, invisible touches, and scraping sounds serve as reminders that the land preserves the memory of those who met untimely deaths among its rocks. The wilderness demands respect, encouraging visitors to tread carefully and observe its dangers. For those who explore Table Rock, the experience is both exhilarating and humbling. The cliffs and trails offer adventure, while the forest and its unseen presences evoke awe and caution. Shadowy figures and fleeting sensations are interpreted as guardians of memory, keeping the stories of past tragedies alive. In the wilderness of Table Rock, every step along the ridges and trails is a brush with history and the unknown, a place where nature and the spectral intertwine, reminding all who enter that some spirits never leave and some stories are forever etched in stone. Siasla National Forest, stretching along the central Oregon coast, is a vast and hauntingly beautiful landscape of dense redwoods, moss-draped ferns, and fog-laden trails. Spanning hundreds of thousands of acres, the forest encompasses rugged coastal ridges, deep river valleys, and remote stretches of old-growth timber, drawing hikers, campers, and adventurers seeking both solitude and the majesty of the Pacific Northwest. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and cedar, and the canopy above filters sunlight into soft, green-hued beams that illuminate winding trails. Yet beneath its natural beauty, the forest harbors a quieter, more unsettling presence, an invisible layer of history and lingering spirits that has long captivated locals and visitors alike. Visitors to Siasla National Forest often report experiences that defy logical explanation. One of the most frequently described phenomena is the sound of whispering voices carried through the trees. Hikers have recounted walking along isolated trails, when faint murmurs seem to rise from the fog, as if unseen figures are speaking just out of sight. The words are usually indistinct, fragmentary, or garbled, but the sense of communication is unmistakable. The whispers often appear to follow the listener, growing slightly louder as one moves through the forest, then fading as suddenly as they appeared. Campers have described hearing these voices at night while lying in their tents, sometimes accompanied by an unshakable feeling of being watched. In addition to auditory phenomena, visitors have reported physical disturbances that defy explanation. Objects in abandoned campsites have been known to move on their own, chairs knocked over, or logs shifted without any visible cause. Some campers recount waking to find personal items displaced, only to discover later that no wind, wildlife, or human interference could account for the movement. Flickering lights in the distance are also a common feature in these accounts. Many describe seeing lantern-like glows hovering between the trees or drifting along the foggy trails, appearing briefly before vanishing entirely. The consistency of these reports across years suggests that the forest retains a residual energy, a presence that seems particularly active in areas with old logging roads, abandoned campsites, or historical clearings. Local legend provides some context for these mysterious occurrences. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Siasla National Forest was home to a thriving lumber industry. Logging crews worked tirelessly in challenging conditions, felling massive redwoods and transporting them along precarious timber roads. Accidents were frequent, and many workers perished in the harsh terrain, lost to falls, equipment mishaps, or sudden storms. Additionally, travelers and trappers moved through the forest, some vanishing without explanation. Over time, stories began to circulate that the spirits of these lost workers and wanderers remained in the forest, lingering along the trails and campsites where they had lived, worked, or died. Some believe that the whispers, flickering lights, and shifting objects are manifestations of these spirits, a way of marking the forest as a place that remembers its past. One camper recounted an encounter near a remote campsite along a fog-shrouded river. As night fell, she noticed a faint glow moving between the trees, seemingly drifting toward her. Moments later, she heard soft, indistinct whispers, rising and falling with the wind. She felt an invisible presence brush past her tent, causing the fabric to ripple, even though the air was still. Terrified yet mesmerized, she watched as the lights disappeared and the whispers faded into silence. The experience left her with a sense that she had stepped into a living memory, where the forest and its unseen inhabitants coexisted with the living. Hikers navigating the remote trails have reported similar experiences. Footsteps echo behind them in fog-dense corridors, where no one else is visible, and glimpses of shadowy figures flit through the trees before vanishing. Streams and small waterfalls often amplify these sounds, creating a surreal and sometimes unsettling atmosphere. Even longtime guides and forest workers acknowledge that certain areas feel charged with an unusual energy. Trails that are familiar by day can seem disorienting in the fog, and quiet clearings can feel like the presence of unseen observers is pressing upon visitors. Photographers and paranormal enthusiasts who have ventured into Siasla National Forest have occasionally captured unexplained phenomena. Long exposure images sometimes reveal faint orbs of light drifting through the trees, while audio recordings capture murmurs, soft footsteps, or the sounds of rustling objects when no one else is present. Though skeptics attribute these experiences to natural causes, such as wind, animals, or optical illusions, the number and consistency of reports lend credibility to the idea that the forest is a place where the past persists in subtle, sometimes perceptible ways. Siasla National Forest is a place of contrasts. By day, it is breathtakingly beautiful. Dense redwoods tower above, streams glisten in dappled sunlight, and trails offer both challenge and serenity. Yet the forest also holds a darker, more mysterious side. The whispers, flickering lights, and moving objects serve as reminders that the land is layered with history, memory, and lingering presence. Those who enter the forest are not simply walking among trees. They are traversing a landscape that holds the echoes of labor, tragedy, and human persistence. For those who explore the forest, these experiences create a mixture of awe and respect. The forest's beauty and mystery coexist, reminding visitors that Siasla is both a sanctuary and a keeper of history. Shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and subtle movements are interpreted by many as the spirits of lumber workers, travelers, and pioneers who never left the forest behind. Each step along the trails is a connection to lives lived long ago, a reminder that the forest remembers those who came before. Siasla National Forest remains a wilderness of contrasts. Serene yet unsettling, alive yet haunted, natural yet timeless. It is a place where the fog carries whispers of the past, where redwoods silently watch over visitors, and where the spirits of those who perished in the forest continue to linger. For hikers, campers, and explorers, it is an experience that goes beyond the physical journey into a forest alive with memory, mystery, and the unseen presence of those who never truly left. Tillamook Head, rising dramatically above the Pacific Ocean along Oregon's northern coast, is a place of striking natural beauty and haunting mystery. Its forested slopes, covered in old-growth Sitka, spruce, Douglas fir, and western hemlock, sweep down toward cliffs that plunge into the churning ocean below. Trails wind through dense foliage, offering breathtaking views of the coastline, rocky promontories, and waves crashing against jagged shorelines. By day, the area is alive with the sound of seabirds, the rustling of leaves in the wind, and the distant roar of surf. Yet, for those who venture here during dawn, dusk, or misty days, Tillamook Head is said to reveal a more unsettling side of presence that has intrigued, unsettled, and sometimes terrified visitors for generations. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at Tillamook Head involves the appearance of eerie silhouettes. Hikers and photographers alike have described seeing shadowy, human-like figures standing or moving along ridgelines, cliff edges, or among the dense trees. These figures are often glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, vanishing when directly observed, leaving a lingering sense of being watched. Some visitors have reported the figures appearing at dawn or dusk, their dark forms contrasted against the dim light of sunrise or the fading glow of twilight. These apparitions are rarely threatening in appearance, but their sudden and inexplicable presence can provoke both fear and awe. Accompanying the visual phenomena are sudden gusts of cold wind that appear even on still, sunny days. Hikers report feeling icy drafts sweep over their shoulders, through their clothing, or along narrow trails without any apparent source. These chills are often accompanied by a heightened awareness of the surroundings, as though the forest itself is alive with unseen observers. Campers and trailgoers have recounted these gusts as momentary but intense, leaving an impression that the wind carries not just air, but something more, a presence, a warning, or a memory embedded in the forested slopes. Local lore suggests that these experiences are tied to Tillamook Head's maritime and human history. The cliffs and forested slopes have long been treacherous to sailors, explorers, and early settlers navigating the rugged northern Oregon coast. Shipwrecks, accidents, and sudden storms claimed lives here, leaving countless sailors and travelers lost to the sea or stranded along the cliffs. Stories passed down through generations tell of spirits who linger, unable to find passage to the ocean or closure for their untimely deaths. The silhouettes glimpsed by hikers are said to be these restless souls, retracing paths along the ridges and trails, forever searching for a way to complete their journey. One hiker recounted a particularly chilling experience while ascending a narrow trail near the headland. As dawn broke, a faint mist rolled over the cliffs, and she noticed a shadowy figure standing motionless near the edge, looking toward the ocean. The figure did not move or respond to her presence, yet she felt a profound awareness of being observed. Moments later, a cold gust swept across the trail, causing the nearby trees to shiver despite the still morning air. When she glanced back, the figure had vanished, leaving only the mist and the sound of waves crashing below. She described the encounter as both terrifying and mesmerizing, a moment where the boundary between the living and the departed seemed to blur. Others have reported similar experiences along the trails and ridges. Some hikers hear the faint sound of footsteps echoing along narrow paths or among fallen leaves, yet find no one present when they look back. Flickering shapes are occasionally seen moving between the trees, disappearing when approached. While skeptics often attribute these experiences to fog, light, shadows, or imagination, the consistency of reports over decades suggests that Tillamook Head possesses an energy that is difficult to explain by ordinary means. Even seasoned hikers acknowledge that certain areas of the headland carry a unique and unsettling atmosphere. Trails that are familiar by day may feel disorienting under fog or twilight. Cliff edges, which seem safe in sunlight, take on a more foreboding quality as mist rolls in from the ocean. The forest itself seems alive with subtle movements, shadows shifting just beyond vision, leaves rustling despite calm air, and the sensation of eyes following each step. Many visitors leave with a heightened respect for the land, recognizing that it is more than just a scenic destination. It is a place where human history, tragedy, and the unknown converge. Tillamook Head exists in a state of duality. It is breathtakingly beautiful, with panoramic ocean views, towering trees, and trails that wind through mossy forest floors. Yet it is also a place where history, memory, and the unexplained linger. The silhouettes, gusts of cold wind, and fleeting sounds serve as reminders that the land preserves stories of those who met untimely deaths, particularly sailors and travelers who could not complete their journeys. The wilderness here demands respect, caution, and awareness, encouraging visitors to tread lightly and honor the past. For those who venture to Tillamook Head, the experience is both awe-inspiring and humbling. The cliffs and trails offer adventure and solitude, while the forest and its unseen presences evoke reverence and unease. Shadowy figures, sudden chills, and whispers in the wind are interpreted by many as the lingering spirits of those who once struggled along the cliffs and ridges. Every step along the trails is a connection to lives that came before, a reminder that nature and memory intertwine, and that some souls never truly leave. Tillamook Head remains a wilderness of contrasts, wild and serene, beautiful yet haunted, timeless yet etched with human history. Its cliffs, forests, and ocean views invite exploration, while the shadows and whispers remind all who enter that the past is never far away, and that some spirits continue to seek passage to the sea they never reached in life. Oregon's forests are more than breathtaking scenery. They are living museums of history, mystery, and the unknown. From the fog-shrouded cliffs of Tillamook Head to the silent shadows along Elk Lake, these haunted forests remind us that the past never truly leaves. Whispers, footsteps, and ghostly silhouettes are said to linger in the trees, waiting for the brave or perhaps the foolish to venture close enough to witness them. Whether skeptic or believer, one thing remains certain. Oregon's haunted forests are a chilling testament to the spirits that refuse to rest, and a journey into their depths is an invitation to feel the presence of the unseen.